Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to this Monday morning stream. That is
It's Monday.
if you are in the US.
Now it goes. Good morning. It wouldn't be a morning without gremlins here at Midnight's Edge.
Yum, yum. Ooh, milk duds.
Welcome to the show. The button finally worked. Sorry about that, Andre. Good morning, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. And with us is Michael from Retroblasting as a special guest today. How you doing, Michael?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to talking about all of these topics, some of which have landed within the last, seems like 90 seconds.
Right? And you're probably like, I wish I wasn't here now.
Something happened. Something happened. Well, don't tell me. I wanna.
Oh, you're gonna love this news, Rob.
Gizmo caca.
I see this news this morning, and I'm like, it's probably bullshit. So I didn't even bring it up to Andre, but Andre still brought it up.
So Tom, you read the news today? Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Okay. Oh boy. Yeah.
Lakeland, Lancashire.
Yeah.
Okay.
First, before we get into
now we lost Rob.
The news. Well, it's Monday morning. I believe
guess.
that Garfield had something to say about Mondays, didn't he? So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I apologize to Michael, our guest, right away. If you haven't checked out Retroblasting, do so. It's one of the, if not the best toy channel on YouTube. It covers all kinds of stuff there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And Tom, I just want to assure you, you'll never lose me. You'll never lose me.
You complete him.
Oh, I'm an honorary Aussie. Thank you, Perth Comics. That means the world to me. Thank you, truly.
Yes. So
awesome.
we have Perth representing in the comics or in the chat at least. Comics too, obviously, but that's brilliant.
Can I be an honorary Aussie too? I mean, I've seen Crocodile Dundee.
No.
I used to watch the Paul Hogan show.
You're already an honorary Mexican. That's enough.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can't be both.
And Stephen Otten sends a super chat to get us started, and he says, "Hail Midnight's Edge and everyone in the chat."
Hail,
thank you,
chat.
Stephen.
Good morning,
indeed,
Stephen.
hail chat. And we have quite a few people joining us today. Sander Hammerstad also says good morning Australia. We have Natasha, our ever loyal wrench, joining us today. And we have many others from all over the place. We have Pinhead, who is looking forward to see some Buck Rogers talk that's coming later on. We have Alpha J is here, who insists that Rob wasn't fired, but here he is. So going with that. And Stephen Vanek thinks that Rob doesn't want to hear the news, but he's going to anyway. So yeah, that's how we roll.
You will hear the news and you will like it, okay?
Yeah. And we have your Muslim uncle, who is excited about our guest today, and so are we.
Awesome.
So, Michael, how's it going?
It's not bad at all. I can't complain. I'm having some streaming challenges with black magic devices on my own stream, so it's just going around. It's live streamers time in the barrel the last few days.
Seems like it's aptly named.
Yeah, it really is. I've said that more than a few times in the last few days. But yeah, I'm doing well. Still working on that video I mentioned the last time I was on the morning show, but that's just...
I've been looking forward to that one. I was wondering, where is it?
It's
along with so many others.
Yeah, the topic has just become so deep. It's going well. It's just a lot bigger than I thought. So I'm exploring.
To everyone wondering, you have to share what massive video are you working on?
Yeah, I'm working on the history surrounding Pride of the X-Men from 1989, which was a episode. Wow. Yeah, it was the one episode first attempt to do an animated X-Men show. And I thought it was just going to be, 8 minutes of episode commentary and then talking about a few action figures and I'm out. But as I started to really turn the Rubik's Cube around, I started to realize there's a lot more to this story as far as questions, timing of its release versus the timing of the comic, all kinds of stuff. And so it's just become a bigger video. And I brought in an expert that's a friend of mine from YouTube. And I'm trying to do this, in a big way. It's going to be a good feature for the show. So
That's like when I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to write a mini doc on the history of GI Joe."
Ooh.
I was like, "What the hell did I get myself into?"
Yeah, you just took a leap of faith, and there was no bridge to catch you, my friend.
Like, oh my god, I didn't know it was going all the way back to World War One.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, things like that. They absolutely do have a tendency to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I can speak of from personal experience. So can Tom, with like that massive epic Conan movie retrospective that we did.
So good, though.
Yeah,
So good, guys. So good.
The original intention was for that to cover the whole franchise and all the movies. That was the original intention.
Yeah.
And then as we approached like 10 written pages of script, it was like, yeah, I think we're going to have to cut this.
Well, it was more like we got like a third of the way into editing. I'm like, you realize that if we keep going, this is not going to be a mini documentary anymore, right?
Right.
It's going to be like a full-fledged documentary. He's like, wow, yeah. I'm like, because this is already looking at 40 minutes just for the first part.
And
thank you. Like, you're right.
And thank you, Hermes III. I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes. And one of the few times I've actually heard Andre say you're right.
I also have to address Marek in the chat who says Andre must do a documentary of Allo.
Oh,
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I could try to have a Guy Signer on it, the guy who played Lieutenant Gruber.
Really?
I kind of know him a little bit.
Wow.
So yeah, I've met most of the cast and stuff. So that would be cool. I'll reach out to Guy and see what can be done with it. It would be cool to have him on someday in any event.
That'd be amazing.
So yeah, that's yes, that exactly. That would be Gruber and his little tank. I do not know that he owns the tanker anymore. I don't. And Natasha says that he did TNG as well. I don't know that he did TNG. I know that he did Enterprise. He did Enterprise. Maybe he did TNG as well. I have to check that. I know he did Doctor Who. He was in one of the foremost episodes with what was the best Doctor again? The one with the long scarf.
Tom Baker.
Yeah, he was in one of the foremost episodes of Tom Baker's Doctor Who, like the Genesis of the Daleks or something. He was.
Oh, wow!
So he would actually be really, really cool to have on board anyway.
Right.
But while we are in the chat, let's go through a couple of super chats before we begin with the show proper. Mr. Tickletrunk started us out with two Canadian dollar super sticker of a cute little doggy, and Grand Wasu 42 topped that with a €3 super sticker of the same cute doggy. And Sontar said for $5 Canadian, first day back from a 3-week vacation. Half of management thought I had quit. Being fair, I certainly want to. Well, I can't blame you, but you should keep your job right now because the way the economy is moving forward in all of the Western world, might want to keep on to the jobs, those that have them, unless you have something better lined up. So there is something to be said for that. And also, we have to give a very special shout out to someone in our community, because tomorrow is Simon Lamb's 31st birthday. We don't have a live show tomorrow, so we're saying this right now. Happy birthday to you, and also a special shout out to Lulu, which would be his support dog, and D Lamb, who looks after the whole family. So thanks for watching and for being valued members of our community. And we have more people joining our great community. We also got a couple of super chats which lead a little bit into the topics that we'll be talking about. Because Spider Unlimited said for an incredible $19.99. Thank you so much. Morning, and thanks for the free thought content as usual. Gina's interview was so inspiring and heartfelt. I'm proud to add her to my list of heroes. She has inspired me to fast-track my own production and content, now hiring. That's awesome. You have to keep us up to date with that, Mr. Spider Unlimited. And then we also have Joe Pat 87, who says nobody cares about Cruella, LOL. When's Emma Stone gonna play Gosalind Mallard already? We're gonna get into that. I want to hear what Michael from Retroblast has to say about Cruella as we get into the Disney and Carano and Star Wars situation.
I've heard if she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will.
Am I the only one who has that album with all the alternative rock and roll guys singing Disney songs? I mean, that's actually pretty good album.
But now you need to send me that.
I had it on cassette. I mean, I don't know.
Well, what good are you?
With the Replacements singing Cruella de Vil.
Wow,
that was actually
fucking
really
cassette,
cool.
Rob.
It was the only format I could find at the time.
I'm picking on you, of course.
And then the Jack of all casual says, morning, gentlemen. Currently working, can't stay. Okay, well, thanks for your support anyway. And we hope that you will be listening in later on for the replay. And then before we get into the topic, which is advertised in the thumbnail, namely the whole Fantastic Four situation, let us address the most recent breaking news, which is slightly outside of the world of movies and genre entertainment, but is kind of entertainment. Actually, there's a very strong link to entertainment in here. Daft Punk, which I'm sure many of you will have heard about, have announced shortly before we went live that after 20 years, they're calling it quits. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Michael, let's begin with you as our esteemed guest. What did Daft Punk mean to you? And what do you feel about there not being any new content from them?
Well, Daft Punk was in many ways one of the top three influences when I was growing up in Europe. I don't remember if they were around at that time when I was there in the early 90s, but because of living in Europe, I started following the European music scene after that because I was an adolescent. And so that's when you really start picking up your music tastes. And so I was listening to things like the KLF and Kylie Minogue. And then eventually I followed, Daft Punk as well. And so I followed their career.
KLF, huh?
Yeah, the KLF. They have a fascinating story, the KLF do, but that's an aside. But Daft Punk was it was just a very fascinating music act that spoke to everything that I'm into, like synthwave and just, sort of like house music and that kind of thing. And I'm crushed actually that they're gone. If it's true, and they, obviously, why would we doubt it? But their agent said it. But it's one of those bands that I thought would just keep making music, and I know they had a good run. But right as we get the KLF coming back out of nowhere on YouTube, Daft Punk leaves the scene, and I don't know. I guess I'll just listen to their early stuff.
Conspiracy or coincidence?
I'm not even trying to imply that, but I'm just saying that it is a loss. But I'm glad that they have such a huge library of music to continue to enjoy, and I'm glad that they rose to prominence finally with U.S. audiences with the Tron Legacy soundtrack, which of course was the best thing about that movie, hands down. So I'm glad they had their day, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tron, I'm wondering if that'll affect Tron 3.
Disney affects Tron 3 by just continuing to hold it out in front of us like a carrot.
Well, I'm sure, I don't know if you heard, but like their production company was behind the third film happening. I don't know if that's the case anymore then. Curious.
Well, if they were involved and they were part of those pushing for a Tron 3, then obviously it's going to make an impact. But if they were just one of 20 production companies and they weren't the key driving force, but someone who would be there if it were to happen, then it's not going to matter one way or the other. That depends entirely on who is the driving force behind the project. I mean, because then Daft Punk would be tied with Tron Legacy, and who is there not to say that you would get someone else come in and be intrinsically tied to whatever next Tron movie there is, if indeed the project has someone backing it at Disney. That's the big question. They alone couldn't make that happen. But moving on, Rob, what did Daft Punk mean to you?
Well, I don't know about Daft Punk, but let me tell you, KLM, great airline. Oh, let me tell you, they were on time record, and they just
No, Rob, KLF.
No, they delivered my bag. What? KLF?
KLF.
Oh, that's completely different then.
They're justified and ancient, Rob. You should know about them.
This is the first time I've heard the name. This is Daft Punk. Really? It's been 20 years since those guys been around?
Is it? Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, if you like that kind of music, great. I don't do like what I don't know what the house dance techno, whatever it is they do. I don't know. Here I am. I'm listening to the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Replacements and stuff like Matthew Sweet and Cheap Trick. I'm like, I don't. It doesn't mean much to me. Unfortunately.
Well, I
just know them as the guys who use the Leiji Matsumoto animation in their video.
I can weigh in on some of that because my experience when I left the United States in 1990, and then when I came back in late summer of 1993, the entire music scene in the U.S. had changed. It had flipped in that 3 years. It had rejected where it was going because it was going into CNC Music Factory, Technotronic, and all those bands that were house music. And then somewhere along the way, while Europe was embracing that music scene, the United States rejected it for alternative and grunge and everything else. And so when I got back here to the States, it was like, what happened to music here? And it was very alien to me. So just to say that I've heard, guys like Rob, when they say, I've never even heard of this band. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that because stateside, everything changed in that 3 year period.
Well, do you know how many times I have to tell people, even from the United States, who said when I rattle off some of those names, like I never heard of those guys. I've never. I mean, one of my favorite CDs is by is called Yellow Pills. One of my favorite bands, and that they appear on those is called the Pez Band from Chicago. They were a power pop band from the 70s. Do you think anybody's heard of them? I'm like, no. So yeah, Pez Band off Broadway. They came around the same scene as Cheap Trick, but we digress. I don't know anything about this style of music. I mean, okay, they're broke.
Rob knows what band recorded what album in the garage on like 12th Street in Maine. But he doesn't know any new music. That's true.
Standard Hammerslag. No, I don't know the Time Lords. I don't. I mean, where were they from? Seattle and Minneapolis were the two big epicenters for music for me for a long time.
The Time Lords is the KLF. They went by a few names.
Natasha. No, I don't know the Malarians from Boston. I know the Greenberry Woods, but I don't know the Malarians. I know the Gigolo Aunts from Boston, but not the Malarians. I'll have to look into them.
Kingston Falls, never heard of that, but I've heard of the Kingston Trio.
Moving back to Daft Punk, Tom, were you familiar with Daft Punk outside of Tron Legacy?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I can't say that honestly. I mean, it's probably surprising. I don't own any of their albums besides Tron, but I know the Up All Night to Get Lucky song and a couple of their other songs. I mean, they made music for Razor commercials. I get it. It's cool.
Actually, it was really more a matter of their music being used by Razor.
I know. I was being facetious, but yeah, I mean, Do I hate their music? No. Am I like heartbroken that they're broken up? Not really, but I'm not a big, huge fan like some people are. And for those who are upset about it, my heart goes out to them. And hopefully you'll be able to find some replacement in KLF or something like that. I mean, I'm more excited now that they're back.
As for me,
hearing of it.
As for me, being European, of course, I am very, very familiar with Daft Punk. I wasn't a fan from the very beginning, actually, it wasn't that far from it. But I've been a fan since 97, 98. I first heard of them. In their song "Around the World," that was like viral on MTV Europe, and that's when I first heard of them. Now, I wasn't a fan of that song in particular. That was like ear candy of the worst and most annoying kind possible, and the music video honestly freaked me out a little bit. But outside of that, I have come to really, really appreciate their music and the variety of it. Because here's like the thing: their music, they have like this style that is recurring, but the expression of that style varies wildly from album to album. So I'm a big fan of them, and of course, Tron Legacy I think is among their best work. That was a match made in heaven. Their music and their style with Tron. Whoever thought of that was a genius, and it's a shame that the movie didn't fare better, because that was a feast for the eyes and for the ears. So, incredible movie. Great band, or great duo, because there's just two of them. And I'm sorry to see them go, but all good things must come to an end, and we'll always have their music.
True.
So yeah. And I also see that many point out in the chat that the soundtrack was amazing. And second album, Discovery, is Opus 4's favorite. So yeah. And Sander Hammerslag also points out that Daft Punk came from the same time as Air. Yeah, I think I recall Air. Yeah, about the same thing. And Grand Wazoo 42 says, "Around the World makes my ear still bleeds."
Yeah, that was a low point. That was a low point.
That was a low point.
Yeah, that was really when that song was literally used by teenage girls I went to high school with to sing over and over again to chase me out of, like, the lunchroom and stuff. Like, they would just use it as torture because they were like thespian kids, who loved to act, and they were all crazy, but they loved singing Around the World over and over again just to drive the rest of us nuts.
Yeah.
I'm so old.
Who was that now?
that was one of the modern kids that have gone on to retire, Rob. So,
yeah.
Here I
am.
Caleb evidently likes that song, though, and he doesn't appreciate the disrespect we treated with. So, yeah,
the
lyrics weren't bad. Yeah, it has. I have to say, the song "Around the World" has the best lyrics of all time.
What all does it say? Around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what song?
Exactly right.
You know what song drives me nuts? That stupid song Laid by James, but for a different reason. Because when that album came out in 1997, Matthew Sweet had just released Blue Sky on Mars. And the club in my area, Toad's Place, booked James over Matthew Sweet. They both had the date available, and they booked James over Matthew Sweet. And then they canceled, and then he had taken another date. I'm like, you motherfuckers. And he hasn't played in this area since. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna get you for that.
Rob got really upset about that.
Every time that somebody plays that and all the girls start singing, I'm like, you fucking assholes, knock it off.
We all have something to trigger us.
Poop mouth.
Everybody, everybody loves that fucking song, and I'm like, you don't know, do you? Like just I always say British puss rock never solved anything. Okay.
Yeah. Master Clockwork says my introduction to Daft Punk was Interstellar 555. So yeah, I don't remember hearing that myself, but yeah. And Graham Sarden says first album was great, then they became electro bonos. So
what I always found was funny about them is
there.
I always seen their records everywhere, and it's like, digital music on record. Okay. I just thought that was interesting, but
yeah. We also have a question for you, Michael, before we move on. Retroblasting, do you have a Cara Dune figure yet? If not, you better hurry.
Thanks for the question, Dash. The truth of the matter is that while I enjoyed the few episodes of Mandalorian that my friend Tim, who's on my Saturday live streams with me, he's part of the Retroblasting crew. He loves all that new stuff, and he wanted me to watch it. He signed on to his Disney Plus account and streamed it to my TV while he was here one Saturday. I guess we'll get into this later, but I do not have a Disney Plus account because on principle, after two things happened, one with the Star Wars stuff and one with the Marvel stuff leading up to Disney Plus, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I have no emotional investment in The Mandalorian. I don't hate it or anything. The stuff I saw was just fine. But because I haven't been watching the show, I didn't race out to get the figures. And I'm fine with that. I know that Cara Dune figures are shooting up in price and all that kind of stuff. But again, didn't watch the show, so I'm almost emotionally freed from worrying about that kind of thing. So that's my answer.
All right, very cool. And now, since we were on that topic, let's continue on that topic before we move on to the Fantastic Four. We said that we would get to it eventually, but since we started, let's do it right now. What's your thought on the whole Gina Carano situation? Did you see the interview with her on the Daily Wire, for instance, and all that? Like, whole thing from your point of view.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I watched the Shapiro interview, and I've been following the whole Gina Carano thing for the last few months because I really like Gina Carano. I've liked her since before Deadpool. And around the time that all that was going down, prior to the latest tweet that Disney used as an excuse to get rid of her, I was publicly on my portal saying, I was following her on Twitter and saying, I support, what you're, trying to do is stand up for, freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff. But I was also telling all my friends who were talking about it, I was like, Gina Carano better be careful because corporations are their authoritarian dictatorships that happen to exist within democracies, and they have no loyalty, and they will eat her alive if they decide that she's a liability. And, when you make a deal with the devil, you either play that game to survive or not. And I was, not surprised that Disney did what they did. I do not believe they should have the right to fire her. But at the same time, I also believe they shouldn't have had the right to fire James Gunn. They shouldn't have had the right to fire Johnny Depp. They have a track record of doing this, and it's wrong. And also, just to be clear on this, I'm a big, as you guys know, I'm a big World War II history enthusiast as far as researching it and all that kind of stuff. Been my whole life. I've talked to veterans from both sides of the war and done interviews in print. And I was appalled to find out how the media was handling, I shouldn't say handling, they were just outright lying about Gina's tweets. Because I follow her on Twitter. So I was reading the tweets, and I'll say this much. She was not at all being racist or anti-Semitic, which is crazy that they would spin that, and it's saddening that they would do that. The mistake that she made, and I do mean mistake, was that she used a comparison to the Holocaust while trying to send a message of love your neighbor. And I get what she was trying to do. And I'm glad that on the Shapiro show, she acknowledged that, you know, this is the message I was trying to send out, which I got and any thinking person would get from her tweet. But she, you know, she's like, it was clearly misconstrued, and probably because I used this comparison that, you know, probably shouldn't have been used.
I would say willfully misconstrued.
Yes, willfully misconstrued. Absolutely. They were trying to throw nitroglycerin on a fire that wasn't even a fire. And that's the whole problem I have with this, is that, you know, these corporations don't have a level playing field. There's no standard by which they get rid of people or not. It's whoever's at the top. So if I was to do a hypothetical, I would say, you know, it's very likely that whatever CEO's political bend is in the moment, they'll determine who gets fired from a company versus another company. Like, ostensibly, you could get fired at Fox News for the same thing you would be lauded for at Disney, and vice versa as an employee. It's wrong, and it's also something that corporations shouldn't be getting their nose into anyway. That said, it's the stark and sad reality that we live in. And it's like saying that, well, I don't agree with the tornado, so I'm not going to get in the shelter. And it's like, well, the tornado doesn't care whether or not you agree with it. It's going to kill you. And with Gina, you know, I was saying months before, I was like, and this was around the time that she did the meme that was not the meme, but it was the photo that she posted. It was a great message saying, don't ever be part of the herd. Don't let the group lead you around. And it was the photo of the one guy at the rally in Nuremberg that wasn't doing the salute. And everybody just jumped her for it. I'm like, are you guys like dumb? She was just trying to say, think for yourself. But I also said, you know, to publicly on my Facebook page, I said, if she wants to continue being Cara Dune, she'd better take Kurt Russell's, you know, perspective on being an actor and just clamp up, because these corporations are not fair. They are not couched in fairness. They're not couched in logic, which is one of the best things I thought from her interview with Shapiro. She said was, I was responding to this stuff logically, and they were telling me that that's not what needs to happen, that you need to respond emotionally to emotions. And she said, that just doesn't make any sense when you're trying to explain yourself. And I, you know, stood up and applauded her for saying that, because that's
like two children argue. Yeah,
exactly. And I get into trouble for being too logical and not emotional enough, you know, with my rebuttals on things and my positions on things. So I totally relate to her in that sense. But yeah, I know I'm harping on this, but she shouldn't have been fired. If she wanted to keep her job, she would have had to have maintained that deal with the devil, is my point.
Now, I'm glad you brought up that specific picture, because that's where I think all this started, or at least that's where we were aware that they were gunning for her. Because I mean, people have talked to us about it. There's people who don't believe in it, and there has been this Cold War going on over at Disney for a while, and I feel like she was just put in the crosshairs and was hammered on until it was it. And if you listen to everything and you go back through, I feel like Disney made their choice clear back when with the trans rights thing. The moment they told her, you know, don't come to the premiere and the press junket and all that kind of stuff for Mandalorian, that they had made their decision then. Right. They just didn't tell her. And, you know, like she said, people went to bat for her. She knows that. She saw an email she wasn't meant to see. And in that reiteration of that tale right there, it almost sounds like to me that she's insinuating that Disney themselves started the hashtag Fire Gina Carano hashtag.
That wouldn't surprise me.
And yeah, everything I've said to everybody, they say, oh yeah, that sounds just like them. And that's what they have. They have like these little ops inside. And we've seen the same thing in the Star Trek world. We've seen the same thing in, you know, from Brebots and all these other people. And they're the same damn things that she was basically describing in that interview, where they're nameless, faceless accounts that are usually they're a couple years old with no followers, or brand new with no followers, and they just sit there and endlessly harass you. And it's obviously one person with like 5 accounts,
Right.
You know, and you add up like 3 or 4 people doing this, and yeah, I'm sure it feels like a crowd of people. But then once they get enough people on their side with this whole social justice shit, where, you know, Rob likes to go off on, is how all these people just sit back in their keyboard and can sit there and, you know, yell at people all day online, but never actually do anything. And another point, you know, that she really shined a light on was this, and this quote here I got on screen right now, not to get political, but like this Judah guy and a few other people have basically shown now that all these companies care about is kowtowing to the left, period. They don't, that they see that if they don't, then that's the end of them. They'll get canceled, just like Gina Carano did. It's like this endless cycle. And I'm so glad that Gina decided to break the cycle, at least somewhat. It's a beginning. Andre, I know we have an upcoming video on this as far as your take on it as well. Unless I missed that being dropped.
You mean the one that we dropped earlier today?
Did it finally get? I didn't know. I went to bed for two hours.
Yeah, no, it's out. I dropped it a couple of hours ago. The one with the everything that the Daily Wire is doing. Yeah, no, that's out. No, but really, it only signifies that it's a truly abhorrent, to use Disney's quote, company culture at Disney, where common sense is not welcome. They are show very clearly who they wish to align themselves with, and that is the emocrats, the ones that pine for an emocracy.
Yeah,
where who is offended, well, that's basically who is in the right at any time, and everyone must bow down and apologize, and by way of apologizing, admitting their guilt and being cancelled, and there's no coming back. So the moment that you step out of line in any what way, you are done and finished and over with. And that's the culture there. That's what it looks like. And the only time that changed was in the case of James Gunn.
Right.
And James Gunn, he joked about horrible matters. But from the point of view from these people, incredibly, what he joked about isn't the worst thing. Like, they don't necessarily condone of it, but if you have to make a scale of worst offenses, then from their point of view, what he joked about wasn't the most offensive. Plus, he's correctly aligned politically. Plus, Kevin Feige really needed him. So after a respectful amount of time had gone, he could come back. But this is like something else, and there's an extreme double standard at work there. So it will be very interesting to see what Carano and the Daily Wire can do to take on the Death Star, as they described Disney and that whole general system with.
Well, that's the whole thing, Andre, is that, we were talking right before the show, and it kind of came up just a second ago when I was asked about the Mandalorian show. But yeah, this is a big beacon of how Disney operates, a big negative beacon. But Disney has been showing us who they are for several years now, both in the way they handle their creative behind the scenes, the way that they handle, obviously, their actors, the way they put things in the vault and disavow that they were ever made, the way they edit their stuff on their streaming services, the way they gobble up other companies, and the way they treated James Gunn and Johnny Depp, and probably countless other groups of countless other people that we don't even know their names, who are behind the scenes at Disney. And the fact of the matter is that, when I saw all that going on, plus the way they handled their franchises, like with The Last Jedi, and with their declaration that the next Marvel phase, it would be dependent on the consumer getting a Disney Plus account to watch the Marvel TV shows so that they would understand the movies coming out. I looked at all that and I said, that's it. I said, I am not going to buy into Disney Plus from day one. And I haven't. And, they are not an essential company. Like, they are not what we would call, they do not make food. They do not make shelter. They don't make things that we require to survive. And so if I'm not having to watch new Disney stuff, guess what? I'm still able to breathe oxygen and eat lunch and do what I need to do. And yet, for some reason now, this has become this big thing where everybody's, really upset. And again, they should be upset because of the way Disney's doing business. But this isn't the first time Disney's done business this way. And I don't know. I'm not trying to say that I'm told you so or I'm better than anybody. I'm just kind of like flabbergasted that now is the time that people are like, cancel Disney Plus, cancel Disney Plus. And it's like, we never should have started with Disney Plus. And I
agree with.
Yeah. No, sorry. That's all I was saying.
No, I agree with you on the last part, but I can give you an answer to the first part.
Okay.
The first part is because we've never had anybody stand up like this before, who is actually somebody we can get behind, and is all those things that they're trying to claim they want in Hollywood, but yet are snuffing out.
Right.
Because unlike some of the other people that have possibly come out in the past, and said enough's enough, and this is a problem, that's a problem. They're not always somebody necessarily you can get behind. Gina is the closest you can probably get to an innocent soul in Hollywood outside of a child, because they're not corrupt. And that's where I think especially that one post she made about the guy with the dollar bill taped to his mouth comes from, is she's not going to be silenced by money.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And that's the best part for her. And she says it in the interview is, she can afford to do this. She's not beholden to worrying about a lot of the things that some of her co-stars and co-workers were held to at Disney. And so she's basically the first one doing this kind of, in a way, at least to where people have been able to get behind her 110%. And I really don't think there's any skeletons in the closet that are going to come falling out. I mean, they tried. Look at what they came up with. The whole, her rich family wanted to make money, so they invested some money in Vegas. It's not even directly tied to her, but they are trying so hard to stretch that web so wide to make her look bad. And the other thing they're trying to do with this stuff is they're trying to turn people on her family. This is the next step of cancel culture, folks. First, they turn everybody on you. Then they turn your family on you.
Yeah. If there's nothing to find on you, then what are they to do? I mean, they have to cancel you one way or the other. If there's nothing wrong with you, then let's see if you have some mobsters in your family. Like, isn't that what everyone does?
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened to me on a much more minor level over the years at Retroblasting. People have attempted to cancel me on several occasions, and they don't have any.
For?
You'd be surprised, Andre.
I mean, they went out in public on Twitter and tried to say all kinds of horrible things about me because I was on Jeff Hicks's show, and it didn't work because I got no skeletons in the closet and I got everything out in the open. If we're taking this to the analogy, Tom, that you've appropriately created about how Disney is the bully and Gina stood up to them, right? Then all the Disney Plus money every month is your lunch money that the bully is taking. And you've watched the bully, not you specifically, but the general you. We've all watched the bully punch several people over the last few years while they keep taking more and more of our lunch money. We've watched the bully, swallow up a few companies. And I'm going, why are you giving the bully your lunch money? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, the bully just punched Gina. And it's like, get him. And I'm going, why weren't we all getting them before? Like, don't get me.
I think it wasn't so much that Disney punched Gina. It was that Gina punched the monster, and the monster bled. Right. Okay. And at that moment, we all saw the weakness. It's like when it's that perfect moment in a movie where the bully's been picking on the main character, and they finally just the Back to the Future moment when that turn with Biff. Right. That changes everything in the future for Marty when he goes back. Like, that's the whole thing, is like, that was that moment. Gina was, McFly turning around and hitting Biff for the first time. And nobody had ever stood up to Biff before. Right. And that's what this was. And not only was Biff caught off guard, Biff was knocked on his ass for, but yeah, sure, Biff got back up, and Biff's not acting Disney's not acting towards Gina like Biff did, towards George. But what happened was a lot of people saw that. And a lot of people are paying attention to what Gina's saying. And it really flies in the face of this whole idea that they're behind strong, independent, free-thinking women when all they're doing is trying to cancel a very strong, free-thinking woman who has really said nothing wrong. They've really just twisted and manipulated it. Yeah,
she won't fall in line.
But I think that's like the big thing that
she won't fall in line.
That have paid attention to this. They see her Twitter and they see, well, this is common sense. I agree with this. What's all the controversy? What they want to cancel it for that?
I think she was even stuck with the label of a conservative before she ever made that decision. I think that's another thing she was saying in that interview, because this was the first time she ever voted this last year, and some of those posts predate voting. So I think once she got attacked for that first photo that Michael brought up, and then for the trans thing, I think she had enough. Mm-hmm. And she, like Robert Meyer Burnett, had that waking moment and truly becoming woke and realizing, oh, these so-called woke people that, claim to be virtuous and on the side of the right are actually fucking evil, sadistic fucks who will turn on you and chew your fucking leg off if they get the least bit hungry and smell blood.
Well, that's the other funny part about that, Tom, is that corporate cultures on top of that are the same way. So you're getting like a double pound cake of that kind of behavior. It's like a double layer because corporations, regardless of their bend, are dysfunctional, almost sociopathic structures. I've talked about it before.
Look, I don't think KK's been sleeping well. I mean, she looks tired. Remember that I just had my David Tennant moment. She looks tired, doesn't she?
Yeah, I picked up what you were putting down.
Well, here's the funny thing, and because we've gotten a lot of stuff coming to us now after this, of course, and we go through our trustworthy sources generally. We try to run and filter everything through. And again, there's this narrative going around that KK's under attack. And I told Andre, I said, I really feel like they're trying to build a narrative here. They're really trying to make Kathy the victim. And you know what the headlines are going to say, right? Conservative freaks go after innocent woman.
Yeah, just wait for it. Just wait for it, because Tom, you have now gotten independent confirmation about what I said. I heard that both Disney and Kathleen Kennedy have gotten in the mail.
Well, and I said they're just trying to twist a narrative here, but evidently I heard about this here. Completely independent of Andre, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Same can be said though about the Pattinson stories.
She needs duty scoops.
Yeah. To anyone wondering what we're referring to is that apparently both Kathleen Kennedy's and Disney's incoming post right now is biohazard, because in it they're getting used kitty litter. That means kitty litter with the dropping still in it. Used human diapers and other nasty stuff like that. So someone is we don't condone that.
No. Well, listen, I remember when people were trying to save a certain TV show and which Tabasco sauce was being used prominently, and they were sending bottles of Tabasco to executives. But come on, people, that's as funny as it may be, that's taking things a little too far.
It is. And again, like I said, we don't condone it. Not only that, like I just said, it's an easy way for them to turn it around and try and make themselves some kind of victim.
Mm-hmm. The toxic fans are sending me used kitty litter. What am I going to do, Frank?
Yeah, because they were trying to push that. And again, our sources were just saying what they had heard or knew what went down or whatever. But I said, Andre, we need to be careful with this because they could be trying to set us up. And what I mean is like this whole idea that, KK was driven away from the country and she's in hiding somewhere because she's scared for her life and the authorities have alerted her.
In hiding. She's probably in her second house in
Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah. For God's sake, in hiding. But I got to say, though, like I keep saying, Tom, Andre, and Retroblasting, what is the biggest? It's not just that she don't. Yeah, good English there. I talk English goodly. It's not that she doesn't.
I understood that.
It's not that she has the wrong political leanings. It's not that That's a big part of it. And it came to the woke mob. But the other thing is, what do I always say, Tom, about Gina Carano, about Cara Dune?
That she's hot as fuck.
Well, that helps. Hubba hubba. But another thing though, what does she represent about Jon Favreau and his vision for Star Wars that flies in Kathy's face?
She's not Rey Skywalker.
Exactly. That's what really sticks in KK's craw, that she's not Rey. She did everything she could. She did everything she could to make Rey popular, which for Kathy Kennedy is just a projection of herself. All the characters in the sequel trilogy in Disney Star Wars so far are projections. Oh, hubba hubba. Hey, baby,
Rey can't do this though.
Exactly. No, bring up a Pez dispenser. That's Rey. You know, it's just now I'll be canceled for body shaming. Oh yeah, hey baby, how you doing? But anyway, I digress. Tom, get that off the screen. You're distracting me.
I'm busy.
Well, do it someplace else. Darn it. But anyway, now even there, look.
I know it's still tough, isn't it? I can't find it. They're all sexy. What do I do? All of them. Hell, no.
Like
now
you said,
called Sims, but no, she takes a good picture. What can I fucking say?
Yeah.
Even when she's just being sweet and nice. Look at that. I mean,
yeah. Hubba hubba. You know, when's the last time someone used the word hubba hubba? Jeez. But anyway, like I said, though, she's not Rey. You know, she takes a great picture. She's photogenic. She's personable. And from that interview, she's sweet as all can be. And you know, Rey is just a stick figure with no personality, no depth, no charisma, no on-screen presence. Daisy Ridley, you know, she shuts her mouth behind the scenes, which is exactly what they want. Just, you know, stay in the background, just shut your mouth, and we can pose you and manipulate you as however.
Nobody's listening to us, Rob. Everybody paused like 10 seconds ago.
I just want to point out, thank you, Alpha Omega, for the kind super chat. Yes, I am a huge Kylie Minogue fan, lifelong, and I do have her new record, and I've had it for months and months. I have 3 copies of it, and it is awesome. And just to show you, I am in my
the Kylie room
here. Yeah, well, it's just a little corner. So
the Kylie corner, that's what it was.
Kylie corner. Yeah.
I'm waiting on my giant Backbeat movie poster to arrive from the seller.
You gotta replace that ratty one you got next to your computer. I saw that.
Yeah. I've been meaning to get that for a while, but we digress.
Alpha Omega, though, yes, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, just so everybody knows, for those just listening and not looking at the screen, Kylie Minogue, Retroblasting, yeah, amazing taste. I hope you have her new record, #1 in the UK, Australia, and huge around the world, even charted in the US. The only territory she's not huge. I think she's almost more well known as an actress here anymore than she is than
even for Street Fighter.
Well, that's what she's got a new claim to fame here in the U.S. because Street Fighter, has become this new cult classic all of a sudden.
I will say though that one of my all-time favorite songs, that's not from Rammstein, is actually "Confide in Me."
Yes,
by Kylie Minogue, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, it's a amazing track. It's really, really, really good.
I met Rick Nielsen many times from Rick Nielsen's Cheap Trick, and we actually said something. He said something similar. It said, "Rick, the song 'I Want You Love,' that's the best Beatles song you ever recorded." He goes, "Let me tell you, that song was #1 in the UK, #1 in Canada, #1 in Iceland, #1 in Germany, #1 in Spain, #1 in France, #1 in Italy, #1 in Japan. Here, nothing." It's like, oh man.
And this is why Rob's getting a music channel. Oops, I spilled some beans.
Oh man,
I'll make it happen. Don't worry.
Just be you just have to share it with some Rammstein.
Yes, we'll have Rammstein hour.
See, even the action figure is hot.
Yeah, good luck finding one of these. Now, this is something we haven't really gotten into yet, even in our videos. Disney went and pulled the toys. The only one that we know of so far that has not been canceled or pulled, I shouldn't say pulled, because what they did was, I actually had a couple of people contact me.
Shipping them, right?
No, they contacted me and said the same thing. They got emails or whatever from Disney, and Hasbro and whatnot, or Hasbro got emails from Disney, and then Hasbro emailed them out. They put all the Cara Dune shit on clearance that was in stores.
I gotta take a ride to Walmart later then.
Oh yeah, good luck finding anything.
I know, but still,
Here's the other thing I always pointed out: like, there must be like people nearby me who get into this shit right away when they know when Walmart gets it, because I've never seen a decent amount of the Black Series toys out there. It's always crap nobody wants. They got like 20 Jar Jars. I shit you not.
Yeah.
I actually found a Carl Weathers one I almost bought the other day, but I just didn't because I was pissed they didn't have a Cara Dune. But yeah, they've never had anything other than Baby Yoda stuff because it's so plentiful. Otherwise, it's just stuff nobody wants.
Plenty of Rays and Rose Ticos.
Exactly. Well, they didn't even have those anymore because nobody buys them.
And that's the other thing too. Listen. I'm not. I don't take my word for the standard of beauty. Okay, but like you said, given what Cara Dune and Daisy Ridley side by side, Cara Dune and Gina Carano and Daisy Ridley side by side, really. Come on, Gina Carano all day long, for God's sake. I'm not disparaging Daisy Ridley, but she is more womanly.
Well, one thing I can say. Oh, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that there's a long-standing history of this phenomenon happening. Aside from even looks as well, this also happens with certain male characters as well in pop culture television series, where the character that becomes popular is not the one that was expected to be popular. And it's because Hollywood or the studio making it had its own agenda, whatever that was, secular or something else. And yet the charisma of the actor and the audience's response to it. I mean, how many times in Hollywood have they tried to push an actor or actress into the spotlight, movie after movie, that we just didn't care about?
Well,
more than can be counted. Speaking of that, I want to highlight three times.
Well, there's Sam Worthington
that I can think of,
Jai
where
Courtney.
Someone else who wasn't the star ended up becoming the star. The first way, like in chronological order, Around the World in 80 Days, 1956. David Niven was the star when the movie began. By the time it ended, it was Quentin Flas who played Passepartout. He completely stole the show. He was already huge in South America, and he became huge in the rest of the world afterwards. And then again in 1963, again, also David Niven, so evidently not the most charismatic guy. He was supposed to be the lead in The Pink Panther. But the movie had a small little guest appearance from one Inspector Clouseau, played by Peter Sellers. By the time the movie ended, he was the star, and the franchise continued to revolve around him, which also wasn't meant to happen. I mean, it wasn't even meant to be a franchise. It became one because of the popularity of Peter Sellers in a movie that was starring David Niven. And then, of course, there's obviously Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I mean, Pinhead, he's just another monster with like 3 minutes of screen time or something. And he became the icon that the franchise hinged upon forever afterwards.
I can bring one that's even closer. I'm willing to bet and put money down on it that between the toy companies and everybody involved, other than maybe certain people on the actual show, and I'm including Kathleen Kennedy herself, I don't think that anybody expected that Baby Yoda would be the breakout of that series. Otherwise, they'd have had toys ready. I think the toy companies took one look at that and said, oh no, that's Jar Jar 2 waiting to happen again. They did not expect it, I don't think.
Well, but take a look at what the idea. But again, like I said, take a look at what they, meaning the Kathleen Kennedy faction, has tried. Babu Frick, they thought was going to be their big porgs. Porgs. Was there anything in the first movie there? I mean, I can't remember anything.
I will say that I really want to eat a porg, so they did that.
Me too. I will tell you this though.
Anybody want to eat one?
Anybody who wants to argue about a Cold War going on, though, isn't it fucking ironic that the two most popular things from The Mandalorian are now gone?
Yeah. Yeah, remember we heard what Kathy says. I will burn this silliness to the ground. And look,
well, that was the quote we heard, but I can't verify it. But it sure seems like that's what she's fucking doing.
She's burning down the house, which she's spreading gasoline on a house that's already on fire.
That's what we were told. It was that Kathy is decidedly swinging her dick around. She got really pissed off that the Mandalorian got big and basically Cara Dune became what Rey was supposed to be. Baby Yoda was this big, huge thing that they couldn't get, like you just said, Babu Frick or BB-8 or anybody else to be. And all these things that went down with Mandalorian. She basically sabotaged the show.
BB-8 had a moment. That was it. Just a moment, and then it wore off.
There was a small point where he was the highest selling toy for the first film, but that was because nothing else was out, I don't think, at the time. But correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. I don't think they released a whole lot at first. It was like BB-8 and a couple of like the newer characters, I think.
Yeah, there was even that whole call. Why is Rey not even in the figure line in the first few months?
That's right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
That's
well,
right.
we're trying to hide the fact that she's the one that gets the lightsaber because we falsely marketed and lied to everybody that it's not really John Boyega.
Well, we actually know what went down with that from Anna, that Star Wars girl. Did you ever hear that story?
Michael, I have the prototype for the Rey figure. There it is. See right there.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I'm sure you may know this.
Again.
I would say, Michael, you may know this story already, but yeah, it's because they put the wrong lightsaber in the toy to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Was it the lightsaber that wasn't 25% different?
It was the wrong lightsaber, I guess. I don't know what one it was, but Anna told the story that they actually had to pull all the figures off the shelves, and she couldn't understand why they were destroying them, and it all had to do with the wrong lightsaber was with her figure.
Oh, for God's sake.
Or that the lightsaber was even with the figure, or something to do with that effect because it was a spoiler or some shit. So she just couldn't understand it, but that's what they had to do. She's like, can't we just give these toys away or whatever? She's like, and then people are like, no, because they'll just end up on the secondary market and shit like that. And it's like, well, like there's nothing wrong with the toys. It wasn't even the toy itself. It was the accessory.
I don't, like I said, it just goes to show you they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. And Jon Favreau comes along. He says, yeah, okay, go sit over there. It's time for the adults to talk in the room. Like I said, he's looking at it like, yeah, you are so clueless, lady. Come on, Kathy. Yeah, just shut up, will ya?
Yeah. And then she goes in her corner and she's like, how dare you? I'm gonna get you.
I love this picture here. This is one we haven't used as much, but this is from the same. Look at George and John are talking, and Kathy's just sitting back there.
Kathy,
the adults are talking.
Kathy, not now. Men are working.
In the background, she's plotting. In the background, she's plotting how she's going to screw them both, and that's exactly what happened.
She's taking notes, plotting revenge. Cancel Mandalorian, cancel Baby Yoda, cancel Gina Carano. Check.
Like we said,
what? You're probably not wrong.
I know. That's what I'm fucking saying to everybody. This is what she's been saying all the time. Who's next? Carl Weathers is next after they get done with Chris Pratt. Then they're going to go after Rosario Dawson.
And she will. There's no doubt in my mind that she will get her greasy little mitts on something from Marvel. She is going to try to cancel somebody just to be spiteful.
Chris Pratt. They already
exactly. Chris Pratt, and she's not going to stop. And Chris Pratt. It'll be Chris Pratt. It'll be Chris Hemsworth. It'll be anybody.
Let him go after Chris Pratt because that'd be like Gina 2.0.
Yeah,
Chris has done nothing to nobody outside of him and his wife broke up and they've tried twisting that into this huge fucking thing. Guess what, folks? It's Hollywood. Relationships don't last.
No, and she'll go after Rosario Dawson next. You said that, right?
Yeah, because of the whole trans thing. Even though she won the case, the trans community, or should I say the trans ally SJW community, not the trans people themselves, I got to be clear, have been bombarding her nonstop, even though that they won that case. In their eyes, they didn't win that case. And they've been just hammering this shit home. And they don't care that she's on the same side. And that's where I said before that, you know what? Chances are Gina Carano was probably at least left-leaning for the most part, or at least appeared to be until this last year. Chris Evans, it really did sound like Chris Evans is another one probably.
No, Chris Evans is on the right side though.
Well, he's on the right side, but he's going to say, he's one of the
for
ones
now, but just wait until he steps out of line.
Yeah, and that's what I've said before. Now that they don't have a boogeyman, they got to go after whoever is perceived conservative, and then when they're done with that, then they'll go after each other. That's the way this shit's gonna work, and that's why I put that quote up before from that guy, because that's what these studios see. They don't give a shit. They don't care, and they don't even perceive that half of the country, or at least a good portion of the country, doesn't agree with just one side. And like I keep saying, they see it as a red and blue thing when they don't realize that majority of the people are in that purple area. They don't all agree on the same thing, and for some reason they feel like the studios, the companies, they all have to kowtow to one side, and they're not even stopping to thinking about what they're doing. And they're obviously noticing, because that's one thing I was going to bring up, and Andres pointed out too, is even though we've only heard that they've had some cancellations and this, that, and the other, I'm sure they're trying to cover it up as best they can, because we're hearing only tens of thousands at most. But I think it's more than that, Andre. Otherwise, why the fuck are they pushing? They made a major push for WandaVision because nobody gives a shit.
Oh yeah,
you know what? I'm out of.
And that's so Retroblasting. I take it that since you do not have Disney Plus and you essentially swore off Marvel, you haven't seen WandaVision, have you?
I've been following it through some friends. I've seen some of the trailers and stuff, but I haven't been following WandaVision strictly because when Disney said, in order for Marvel Phase 5 or whatever it is to be comprehensible when you go to the theater to see Doctor Strange 2 or Ant-Man 3, you really need to watch all of our TV shows that we're going to have on Disney Plus behind this paywall. And I went, no. I was like, no, I will not do that. I just won't. I can, you know what? Avengers had a good run. I enjoyed it all the way up through Endgame. I'll just move on and find something else to watch. Yeah, and I know that sounds, it's not me crossing my arms and being pouty. It's me saying, I don't need this to live. And guess what? You don't need my money if this is how you're going to structure this.
Well, not for nothing, but I tried watching the latest episode of WandaVision, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I don't care anymore. It has nothing to do with the Gina Carano
I
thing.
heard something juicy.
What?
I don't know how accurate it is. Again, because I only heard it from one place. But I heard that this shit has gone so bad behind the scenes with this whole Gina Carano thing. Because here's the thing. Originally, remember the excuse they told her? Remember Lucasfilm told her that they didn't want her, promoting Mandalorian Season 2 was because her controversy was now overshadowing the show?
Yeah.
Well, that is actually happening now with WandaVision. And guess what? Feige's pissed.
Who is he pissed at? At Carano or at Disney and Lucasfilm?
Whoever fired fucking Gina Carano.
Well, that would be Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, we know.
I did what I had to do, Kevin.
Because it's just basically not only upheaval Lucasfilm now, nobody gives two shits and a fuck about WandaVision now. It was already in 3rd or 4th place during its premiere. Nobody cares.
I have to say that episode 7 reveal that they tried to hype
that
up
didn't
all
help.
Week. What a lackluster thing.
Well, Agatha Harkness. I mean, that was
it was Agatha all along.
Big fucking deal. Oh, minor character at best. Yeah, there you go.
Well, and you got to this is just going off of something I heard. I don't know how accurate it is, but you got to remember, we've seen this situation go down before. Feige has seen this situation go down before.
Yeah, he's and it didn't work out so well with the whole James Gunn thing. Like, it set Marvel back pretty badly. It set Marvel back years.
Absolutely, it did. That's why everything got so topsy-turvy, upside down, and fucked up.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, your biggest star now is Brie Larson. Yeah.
It was a similar situation where you had somebody who wasn't in the upper echelon, but in the upper area, which was Alan Horn in that situation, who made the decision without discussing it with anybody else involved. And that's what I heard happen here. The plan was that this was going to be one of those things that was eventually, it was just going to be, they were going to ghost her ass, basically. It was never going to get put out in the press. There was just going to be a season 3 was going to happen. She wasn't going to be in it. They would retool the Rangers show or whatever. She just wasn't going to be in it. The character would have just disappeared. And then eventually people would have gotten the hint. This happened in the worst fucking possible way. They didn't want to, because again, people got to remember, this wasn't something that was put out in the press. A reporter at IO9 emailed Lucasfilm's PR team right after either Gina took down that Instagram post or posted it, one of the two. And they got the response back, which is the quote that everybody's using.
You see, we're dealing with, I'm sorry. Andre,
Carry on.
I was just going to say, we're dealing with a company that couldn't even, during the launch of Galaxy's Edge, they couldn't even coordinate properly to sync Harrison Ford's arm hitting the Falcon with the tribute to Peter Mayhew and the sound effect. If they can't get that right, who's surprised that accidental things are leaking into the public that are this acerbic when they planned to just let it fade away? I mean, we're dealing with probably the most dysfunctional torch passing of power from one company to its buyer in history. I mean, Lucasfilm it's a Chevy Chase level pratfall at this point. Like it is embarrassing.
And you talk about me being old. Jeez.
hey, you know what? We're called Retroblasting, so we throw those references out when we need them. Damn
right. And you know what's funny is that's actually a pretty good comparison, because if anybody knows anything about Chevy Chase, he is a lot like Disney. Mm-hmm. He likes to take credit for everything. He's completely full of himself. And again, I will say that I've heard that he's kind of calmed down a little bit in the last few years. But the reason why that we didn't see a lot of Chevy Chase movies for a while is because he just basically became impossible to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he actually he got himself fired from Community.
He got himself to the point where Kevin Smith was going to make Fletch 1, and he had everything set up. And Universal's like, well, who do you see starring in the movie? And he's like, well, of course, Chevy Chase is Fletch. I thought that was a given. And he's like, well, we don't make Chevy Chase films anymore, is what he was told. So he went to bat for Chevy Chase, and then Chevy Chase fucked him over and then blamed him for the whole fucking thing. It was a big whole fiasco. That's one of the few, like Kevin Smith at that time, that was when he was just up and coming. So and that was the story where he says, never meet your heroes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He said Chevy Chase is one of the biggest assholes in the world.
Yeah, he was one of the few autographs that I had on a Caddyshack flag, and I didn't meet him, but I had it was at an event that my father actually got to attend, and there was a photo of him signing it that came with it and everything. But everything that happened with that guy, I was like, you know what, this would be cool to somebody, but I don't want it, and I sold it. Like I just sold it, I flipped it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similar stories like that with Chase. And again, like I said, I heard he did kind of calm down in recent years because it finally, dawned on him. Bruce Willis is the same way. He's pretty much been drummed out of Hollywood because, he destroys movies because of his attitude, basically.
Well, he's gotten to the point where he just wants to get a big paycheck to just stand in front of a camera.
Yep.
Like he doesn't want to act anymore, but he'll take the check. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But anyhow, so I like these companies and again, I respect you a lot, Michael, for having the wherewithal to be able to avoid something like this, because there's so much stuff that I'm like, oh, I miss, that's not Star Wars related or whatever. And I was getting into the Marvel stuff to a point, but this really killed everything for me because I was barely hanging on to Star Wars as it was.
Yeah.
And this just really killed any.
That's kind of like the tragedy here, because Kathleen Kennedy had been able to kill the love fans had for Star Wars with The Last Jedi. Like you and Rob, you did a video about it, how you equated it to breaking up with a girlfriend, and the breakup was final. And then came The Mandalorian, and it was like, this actually might do the impossible. This might.
I think that was actually me, but yeah.
Yeah, this might do the impossible and awaken some of that old love again. And then came the Luke Skywalker reveal, and everyone were up in arms. It broke the internet up in arms with joy, I might add. Everyone hopeful, just wanting to have the sequel trilogy cancelled, and then we can talk. And then this, Kamran Pasha even said, there's no going back from this. This killed Star Wars.
It totally did.
Well, how many chances is she going to get? I mean, come on.
Well, she's. I was joking that a great title for a video should be "Cat of Nine Lives" because she's, first it was, well, she's going to dodge out of this because of the timing of the Me Too movement or whatever it was, and wouldn't look good for a corporation to get rid of the number one female CEO or whatever it was, or president. And then they turn around and they're like, so we'll just let her go at the end of her contract naturally. And then it's like, oh, well, but the pandemic. So now we have to keep her on because she can't find another job somewhere. Like, all of the reasons why Disney was keeping her on after that were just bizarre.
None of that's really true.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's all come out that it's not. But at the time, people were throwing, wet tissue at the wall trying to see what would stick to.
Here's what I know.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a few different places now. And at least a couple people have kind of, I wouldn't say confirmed this, but at least backed it up. She almost was pretty much, she didn't really even give a shit about Star Wars anymore. She had gotten to a point where she had moved on. She was working on other things. That's where she didn't even realize that Obi-Wan and Mandalorian were basically the same story until it was too late. She had really, she was concentrated mostly on Indy, and this is what I keep hearing. As soon as Indiana Jones 5 is done, she is going to retire.
Well, let us hope. Let us hope.
And then the Mandalorian got successful.
Oh. Well.
And that happened. See, that was the thing, it wasn't even really on her radar that much until it got popular.
Right.
That's what I was told by several people now.
And isn't the Mandalorian's success how she was able to leverage sticking around?
That she was never going to go anywhere. That's the thing, is she is so deep and rooted in this whole thing that they can't just get rid of her even if they wanted to necessarily. The way these things are structured and the way, I'm sure that George Lucas sadly put a failsafe in there somehow is what happened.
Right.
And I'm sure he's regretting it now.
Yeah, because he trusted the wrong person.
And I'm just speculating here because this is just going off of what I've been told. Because basically they can't do shit. Once she decides she's ready to leave, that's when she's going to leave. And she's basically got herself an Amy Pascal deal.
Wow.
And if you don't know what that is, I'm sure you know,
yeah,
Michael,
I do.
But for those listening, what it is Amy Pascal, even though she got completely fired, and I mean fired from Sony, they kicked her ass off the fucking lot. And she's still involved over there because she got her meat hooked so deep into Spider-Man that her production company is attached to it. So they still have to work with her.
Right.
I can say exactly how that happened, by the way. How that happened was that when she knew that she was on her way out of Sony, then she went to Kevin Feige and she said, okay, look, I have two options for you. One is that I'm going to block this deal with Marvel until my predecessor takes over. That's going to be Tom Rothman. Then you can deal with him and you know how he is. Or I will sign the contract giving you Spider-Man right now in this moment. If you sign this paper here for me, guaranteeing my company a production credit on all Spider-Man movies to come forever on your insistence.
And pretty much all the things that people don't like about the Marvel Spider-Man is her fault. Because she made it to where they couldn't use the original versions of all the characters originally. And again, I'm speculating here, but I feel like the new deal happened because Tom Rothman came in and said, make it happen.
That's probably a big part of it. So I think you are completely right there.
And then that's where this whole idea comes in now that Kevin Feige can use the original versions of the characters. So the first thing he did was grab, what's-his-face to play J. Jonah Jameson.
Right. J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons. So
That's one.
And then I'm going to grab the super chat here, even though we do have others, and we're going to get back to them. I do promise. She won't leave because she knows where all the bodies are. And that's true. I'm a unicorn. I've heard that several times over. She's got dirt on everybody. But you know what? All that aside, even if she didn't, she's still the most powerful producer in Hollywood, hands down. Not just female producer, just probably the most, outside of Kevin Feige now, he's probably the only person who surpassed her at this point. Because she has such a rich history with Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis and all these other big hitting directors that she has so much sway and power in Hollywood that like something like this, like I said, I'm not surprised that they would try and paint her as some kind of fucking victim in this whole thing. And they're right behind her. And that's the thing that, I heard too, like the whole thing that Grace Randolph said that, Kathy got a dressing down, but she was never going to get fired. They couldn't fire her. But what they can do is keep bringing in other people like Kevin Feige to produce a Star Wars film. Don't think that didn't fucking chap her ass. Because you don't see her going over there to produce a Marvel movie.
Well, why would they want her to get anywhere near Marvel?
That's the point.
You know?
Yeah, Kevin Feige would never stand for that. But Tom, as you said, we have a few super chats to go through, and including we have this huge one right here.
Oh my goodness!
Slimer Snarf, who sent us another $100. The second one in as many weeks. Thank you so much. And he says, I used my $150 refund from Disney Plus towards Cara Dune figures on eBay. Nice going. You didn't give Disney 1 cent of that money.
I'm sorry he only got one figure from that amount of money, though.
No shit, right?
Yeah.
So but again, thank you for the support. That's gonna buy loads of light here in dark Norway.
Might even help me get a TV that I haven't got yet.
Yeah, that and the new computer that we're
that's probably going to come first, unfortunately.
Yeah. But we have other comments as well. We have one from the last millennial, but I'll get back to that one because that'll tie us into the next topic. So before then, we have Revan Nonaka, who sent 15 Norwegian krona saying, Hey Andre, good job on the last video. Tusen takk, since you sent Norwegian krona. And Harry Nice Guy says for €2, time will come when Die Hard gets a reboot. Oh yeah, just you wait for it. That's a brand that they're going to exploit now that Disney has it. So Disney reboot of Die Hard. I was looking forward to that.
Starring Daisy Ridley, no doubt. So.
Unless if it's produced by Kathleen Kennedy, but I somehow doubt that. But
yippee-ki-yay. Yippee-ki-yay.
Exactly.
I love
that was really good, actually.
Watch as Daisy Ridley, who plays Joanna McClane, takes down the patriarchy.
Yeah. And Rob,
who's going to play Gruber though? Fucking probably to be a Melissa McCarthy.
Well, we'll see. And Fat Steven Seagal, he asks, was Rob before and after the stick and wheel invention?
Was I born before? Oh God!
Dirt is older than Rob.
What'd you say, Sonny?
Rob just had a birthday back here too. He's old now.
Yeah. I can't hear you. Son, please speak louder through your teletype machine.
Exactly. And Juan Santiago Baigorria says, I remember when I saw the Daft Punk anime style videos, I was in high school. Keep up with the good work, and thanks for make company while I work. Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad you're listening.
I know it sounds like I was hard on
better.
I know it sounds like I was hard on Daft Punk earlier, but they really are one of the few handfuls of newer music, I guess, if you can consider them that, even though they've been around for over 2 decades, almost 3, that actually could stand. So if that says anything about them, there's not a lot of whole new lot of new artists I can warm up to after like the year 2000.
And on that note, Thunderstorm says demo button Casio keyboard equals Daft Punk.
Oh yeah,
man, that is savage.
Oh. Do they play any instruments, or is it just all like samples and stuff?
I think it's all sampled stuff. Yeah. I could be wrong. I have not listened to enough of their music.
I mean, they're obviously doing like electronic and synth arranging of their own. But
that could be, yeah.
As far as actual.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Michael, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm done.
They have some musical knowledge, but I'm just wondering, do they play? Joshua Gonzalez says they do play instruments. They do indeed play. Which instruments? Piano? I mean, if you're a piano player, yeah, if you're a piano player, I mean, that gives you that's pretty broad. Guitar and drums. Okay, all right.
I thought they were guys, not pretty broads. Oh, you mean it was?
It's pretty broad. It gives you a pretty broad.
I know. I was being an asshole.
Base to give you, arrangements.
You know what I meant, Rob. You are a piss poor comedian when you don't even get the joke, or maybe I'm just making shitty jokes. That could very well be.
You're not Tommy Chong now. I mean, that's.
I'm not, man.
But guys, we have plenty more to get through before we get to the
absolutely,
next.
And I've got some
topic.
other stuff here for us as well. So
the Festman 93 says for £5 what are the chances that Blue Marvel is the aerospace engineer in WandaVision? I have no clue. That's the chances of that.
I think everybody thinks it's going to be Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards.
That could be like there's supposed to be another like break the internet cameo that certainly better be better than the previous one. And then Mr. Tickletrunk says for 10 Canadian dollars, thank you so much. It's always sad when you see swaths of people let their amygdalas hijack their reasoning. Don't let your first emotional reaction control you. If you notice you're upset, stop, notice it, and think. Very, very good words. And 860 Cyan God says, I don't feel like her example was a mistake to use. Her example made a valid point, which is part of history. Are we going to ignore historical events? Well, we shouldn't, but according to Disney, yes, if historical events upset someone's fifis, then they should be ignored. So, yeah, going on that. And Revan Nonaka says for another 50 Norwegian krona, let's hope the Daily Wire doesn't become the Disney of the right, in that they don't make everyone have the same right-wing belief. My fingers crossed.
I brought that up too. I've had that same concern, but I don't think they will.
I don't think so either, because there they actually, what I see from outside is that there they have a greater tolerance from differing opinions. You can be internally disagreed, unlike in their aisle, and still be, they won't cancel you.
Not just that. Go ahead, Rob.
I have my issues with Ben Shapiro, but I hope I think he's smart enough to just, say, okay, you guys go make your movie. And and we'll just stay over here. We'll just stay out of it.
That's kind of what I was going to say. Like or hate him, you don't have to agree with him. But one thing I do know is that when it comes to movies like Star Wars and stuff like that, he feels the way we do. I've heard him talk about it. So I think he wants to do what we're talking about, and that is a company that just wants to make movies and entertainment that isn't necessarily driven by any sort of agenda other than they want to make money and we want to be entertained. That's, the basic formula, right?
That's what I get from it too. And also, if you look at what he is saying, and I can confirm this to be accurate, he has friends who are working in Hollywood that are pretty far on the left, that have to hide the fact that they associate with him. But he doesn't have to hide the fact that he associates with them, because again, I'm seeing this as someone from outside, but in the side of politics that Ben Shapiro represents, then those on the other side are seen as misguided, but not evil.
Well, and
whereas on the other side, and again, this is my observation, the people view those on Ben Shapiro's side as downright evil and not to be associated with, and anyone that does needs to be cancelled. There you have the difference.
You brought up in your editorial earlier, of course, every critic out there, every mainstream media is going to try and
they're all going to trash it big
bend it that way. But I'm going to believe Jordan Crow here and take them at their word and says, Midnight's Edge, I work at Daily Wire. It is politically, ideologically diverse here.
Just do me a favor, Jordan. If you do talk to Mr. Shapiro, Tell him to slow down when he talks, because I have to wind it back repeatedly.
Jordan Crow, though. So if you work in there, and we believe you on that, are you any relation to Cameron?
You've got to wind that back repeatedly, Rob, because you're old.
You're really old.
Where's the rewind on this internet machine?
Oh yeah, and also Jordan, since you're listening, it would be really cool if you could share the video that we put out earlier today in Daily Wire offices. I would really like to hear more about what they're doing, and especially with Dallas on the air and his plans. I think since you're listening, I think it's important that Ben Shapiro and whoever else is involved there go out and basically say that, no, we're not going to make propaganda movies. That's what you do on the left. What we're going to do is basically make movies for everyone, but maybe with like a slant and the subtext. No one is expecting anything else, but no one wants pure propaganda. I think many people are worried about that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that, we're going to be following it very, very excitedly. What you're doing at the Daily Wire. I can't believe I would say that, but that's the truth.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I hope he does understand. And I'm not specifically expecting Ben to reach out to us or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, I hope he does understand that we, as in the collective community, are definitely, the ones you got to convince here first, because we're going to be the ones to get the word out there. And hopefully he's doing exactly that. And Jordan says, go ahead.
Oops. Yeah. One more time. Okay. You do it.
I said, go ahead. That's my fault. So yeah. Jordan says, unfortunately, I'm not important enough to get in on those talks. I'm just an animator. Hey, you know what? That is not unimportant at all. Animation's a big deal. So
it is, and this, but again, that's something that I think is cool, because what Jordan said is that they have diversity of opinion, and I've only researched the Daily Wire relatively recently, but that's what I see there. That you're expected to generally be conservative, but within that, there's a great tolerance of opinion there, of different opinion.
I didn't figure there was. I was just being humorous. Thank you. That's awesome. That if you do, I like the idea that people from there are listening. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very
just like
cool.
the idea of people listening in general. Just they listen.
Well, yeah, of course. If it wasn't for
I
that,
have to say we have 1,500 listening right now, and that's really awesome. We are so glad that you take the time out of your day, and we're gonna try to pay attention to the chat as you see, and we have quite a few super chats, so we're going to go through every single one of them by the time we're done here, but it take a little while yet.
And so as we always say, Rob, right at the end of Midnight's Edge After Dark, we'd be talking to ourselves if it wasn't for you guys. So
yeah, we started out that way, talking to ourselves.
Pretty much, it was,
and we were lucky enough that people actually wanted to listen.
Indeed. So yeah, where were we? The Retroblasting. Before we move on with the super chats.
I mean, pate's like high-end stuff, so I mean,
absolutely.
We love you, Larry. You know this.
Yeah. Retroblasting. So for those that came in late, what were your thoughts on the Daily Wire interview, since we suddenly were on that?
Oh, you talking about Ben Shapiro's interview with Gina? Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought that a week and a half ago?
Oh, I know. You know what? I have I say this without ego. There's a phrase that I apparently started when I was doing retroblasting videos several months ago. Might have even been last year, where I talked about the fans are doing the best work. And people started making logos of it, selling it on T-shirts. It was weird. And everybody now says, in the toy videos that I make about independent makers and things like that, the fans are doing the best work. And in this case, I'd like to believe that Gina Carano will find an independent place where she can, make the kind of art that she said in the interview that she wants to make, and that she will become one of the ultimate fans doing the best work. With her new gig that's independent of this system, this dysfunctional system that is Hollywood. I really liked hearing about, as devastated as I was, because it didn't surprise me. In the interview, I loved the reveals where she talked about how there were allies of hers in the production that didn't speak up, after the fact, that didn't put their jobs on the line to help her out or to make a stand. And that is so common in corporate cultures. It happened to me. I wasn't fired, but I was pushed to the edge of sanity. And everybody's happy to, sit behind the scenes and go, yeah, this all sucks and we got to do something about it. But only 1 out of every 100 people actually does something about it. I pulled a Jerry Maguire. I did the whole thing of like, who's coming with me, and walked out. But, Gina's situation is something that I relate to on a smaller scale. And I thought the interview was very earnest. I liked how she carried herself, and she seemed very genuine in her answers, and her comments and her thoughts. She seems like a very introspective person, which I appreciate. I do echo some of the comments here in the chat right now that Ben Shapiro speaks too fast. But fortunately, Gina took her time with her answers, and so I really enjoyed it. I wasn't as interested in the 8,000 in-video ads that he did for various services, nor was I interested in the last 15 minutes where he was kind of, advertising for the Daily Wire. That's not a criticism. It's just I was there to see what Gina had to say about her experience, and yeah, it was very enlightening.
Yeah. To be fair, though, in his defense, I'm not going to complain too much about that. Everyone gets Surfshark VPN because that's how he keeps the lights on. So,
I totally get that. Like I'm not. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not trying to criticize the guy. It's just I was, going, oh, we're on the third one of these. Let me scrub through until that lower bar is over. Oh, okay, we're back to Gina. There were a lot of them. That's all I was saying.
So yeah, he does
have that.
But again, I actually kind of appreciate that, because that only goes to show that they are independent. The beauty with that is that when you have funding coming from commercial partners like that, so you have to do a few spots and stuff like that. But you know what? That means that there generally isn't a huge corporate overlord that you are beholden to. The Daily Wire, they received seed funding to get started, and maybe they get like some funding from like those brothers there still. But generally, that kind of like, it just suggests that they are mostly funded by commercials and by doing that kind of spots. And I appreciate that, because that actually is something that ensures continued independence and independence of content. And I'm very willing to sit through some Surfshark ads, although he doesn't do Surfshark, but because that's what keeps their lights on. And in this case, it's also what's going to help co-fund the Gina Carano movie and everything else that they got going on.
Well, in our defense, part of the reason we do it is, like, a lot of the times, if you'll notice, there sometimes it goes on videos that we probably wouldn't normally be able to do, or we would do but are going to get demonetized.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly. Basically, it's insurance in a way, because. Go ahead, Rob.
And hey, if like we said, if you want to use the code midnight at checkout, you get like 3 months free. And you can use it on unlimited devices. So hey, you know what? Why the hell not?
Somehow I feel like I need to tell it.
Yes, you get it. Like look at that symbol there. You get it. We can't say it, but you get it.
I need to apologize to everybody in the comments. I was not aware that my answer would create a cascading in-video ad, and I'm sorry about that.
You mean you don't want to use the code midnight at checkout and get 83% off the regular price? Oh my god!
I would never code to any advertiser.
Let me tell you something.
I use Surfshark on a daily basis.
I mean this with every fiber of my being, guys. Midnight's Edge is possibly the only channel that I've watched that has, a Surfshark type ad thing in it that doesn't annoy the crap out of me. All right. So just putting that out there. The Ben Shapiro way he did it with like a shotgun blast every 5 minutes or whatever.
Like
it was
the
like
makeup gun on The Simpsons.
Yeah, it was just like, oh man, yeah, it was a makeup gun, Tom. It was totally the makeup gun. From The Simpsons. Like just,
It's like an advertising bukkake.
Yes. I'm not trying to take anything away because the interview needs to be watched, and everybody who's interested in this situation should see the interview. And he did a great job asking her questions in the first 45 minutes or whatever it was. And it's something that I think people should see.
Just remember, kids, Disney may have jumped the shark, but we surf with the sharks.
That's right. No, I'm not real, fond of that kind of a thing either. But like, again, with like what we're saying is it allows us to talk about topics sometimes that we normally wouldn't be able to without fear of the YouTube gods.
Exactly.
And it does, help us out here.
It was weird. It was only weird because he was still sitting in the interview space. If they had actually cut ads from their sponsors into like commercial breaks during this hour and 15-minute interview, it would have felt more normal to an old guy like me who's used to broadcast television. But it didn't, because he was just still sitting there in the room, and I just kept visualizing him just sort of like tweaking out like Data from Next Generation and just yelling an ad like Truman Show, where she's like, don't you want some of this Ovaltine? And I see Gina Carano in my mind's eye on the other side of the chair, just having to watch him spew this ad for 30 seconds going,
what are you talking about? What does that mean?
What does that mean? Who are you talking to? This is weird. If it had been literal commercials that they'd cut in at certain points, I don't think it would have been as strange. Yeah. So I know I'm harping on nothing, and Andre's probably like, "Wow, Michael's fixated on total bullshit." But
but I get it. I get it completely. But also, and you know why you say that our spots don't annoy. I'm very glad to hear that, because everyone, like, I just want you to appreciate it takes a lot of work to try to integrate the spots that we do as seamlessly as possible into the content with the transitions in and out. It doesn't happen on its own, because normally they would be super obtrusive, but we try to do our absolute best to make them as undistracting as possible.
Well, speaking of undistracting, Todd Tyler wants to know, anyone know a good VPN provider? I've checked, but I can't find one. Well, we're glad you asked.
I would give anything if they would release, now that this interview's out, if they would just release the outtakes of the other camera angles while he's doing those bits of just Gina Carano with, you can hear him in the background and she's just waiting there. I just want to see what the look on her face, or
he probably filmed them after or before.
Yeah.
They just cut him in or she's still in the shot. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's not in the shot there. So
while we have a moment, though, there's some new photos that have come out from the Justice League film.
Oh, joy!
Oh, wow!
Now,
how did those get past us with Surfshark VPN? I'll never know.
Now, evidently, Jared Leto is Jesus Joker.
Okay, I'll say, you know what he is? He is the rip-off Joker now. Before he was, I'm so completely different from Heath Ledger Joker, whereas now I'm the rip-off of the Ledger mixed in with the Phoenix Joker. The Phoenix Joker was something of a savior to be downtrodden. You had to go there.
I didn't go there. They went there. So much for Emilia Clarke being recast, right?
Is that you know who?
This is she whose pooping habits include the bed of pirate guy. Yeah,
somebody who's not potty trained, in other words.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Do you mean Amber Turd?
And you'll look great watching the center cut in this fabulous new Amber's Turd T-shirt. Available on the Midnight's Edge merch store now.
I'm gonna put the link for that in the description now.
Need that shot of Garth from Wayne's World going about the whole like kowtowing to a corporate.
It's like people do things just because they get paid, and I think that's really sad.
Exactly.
I can't deal with this. I've got a headache.
Here, take these.
Oh, little yellow different.
Then we got Batfleck. That looks pretty badass, though.
I love that they're all shot like commercials, like all the same lighting and everything.
Yeah. And we got the whole crew there.
Well, I do look forward to this show.
Cryborg. And then we got that. I think that shot we've already seen. And then this
one.
But
isn't that Ray Fisher thing though another symptom, another indicator of the uneven way that these studios deal with their conflicts? Like they're keeping Amber Heard on, but they fire Ray Fisher. Like it doesn't line up for me. Like it's just
no. They know it's uneven and they play to the hilt.
Well, in the instance of Ray Fisher, he walked away. It sounds more like to me. So like
he fired himself.
Yeah, he fired himself. But like, yeah, I totally agree with the whole Amber Heard thing, the double standard. It's not just Disney. Like, and this is what I keep telling people. It's not just Disney. This goes deeper than the Cold War at Lucasfilm. This goes way beyond all that. They're not going to stop. This is just the beginning. And if not, maybe, just maybe, Gina's the one who stood up. And that's what scares them. It's not just so much that she's what Ray wasn't and all that kind of crap. It's more so, like I said before, she is a strong, independent woman that is doing something that's stunning and brave by standing up to this huge fucking corporation and saying, you know what? Fuck you. You're not going to bully me. You're not going to bully these people anymore.
Right.
You're not going to sit here and pretend that you're this lovable little Mickey Mouse when you're really Mickey Mao.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one, Mickey Mouse. I love that.
I'm serious, because basically Disney is everything that South Park has said it was, every horrible thing that everybody has ever said it was before. And I'm not saying Walt Disney was probably a perfect guy, but I got to imagine that he would be fucking livid if he would have saw what this company has become.
He'd have to be. He probably wouldn't be happy. No.
And no, I don't like Trump, Arthur. That's true. But you know what? I also can see that there's this big faction within the left side that is completely fucking evil after this. And it wasn't just this. This was just the last straw.
Really? My whole take is, like, really, this is what we're wasting time. We got bigger problems. We have a lot bigger problems. And this is what we're wasting. Listen, we're doing this because this is our business. Okay. This is what we do. Talk about pop culture. But to the people on the left, granted, if they actually focused on real problems, we probably wouldn't have a show. But at the same time, and I've heard the excuse, well, we can focus on more than one thing. I'm like, true, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But at the same time, listen, we've got a humanitarian crisis within our own country going on now.
Mickey Mouse, sir, we got a problem here.
I thought the best part of Gina's interview was when she told Ben Shapiro that, her friendships and her relationships are not based on politics, and she, takes people where they are and she tries to support them and fight for them. And that resonated with me, because if there's one thing that I'm sure Tom can vouch for me on this, is that I've said it over and over again on Retroblasting, which is I don't base my relationships on politics and political leanings. I base my relationships on people who are intellectually honest, even if we disagree, and they make me laugh. Those are that if I have a good time, talking with people. I just did a live stream a few nights ago where I finally got to tackle the subject of 80s vintage black heroes who were action figures, like all of the 80s here. And I brought people on there, a friend of mine named Dante, who introduced me to his friend Dave, who is a action figure designer. And did I agree with everything Dave or Dante said? No. But was it something that was worth destroying friendships and relationships over? No, it was an intellectual exploration about action figures, for God's sakes. So yeah, I totally get where Gina was coming from there. And I don't know how I got on this soapbox, and I apologize.
No, I agree with you, man. And that's kind of where I'm at. Cause like, again, my politics are not important to the show or the channel. They never really have.
Right.
But I have found myself more in the center than I ever have before. And I relate a lot to Gina's journey that she reiterated in the interview. And I saw a lot of myself in that. That's where I get behind her on this, because it's like, you know what? I've had enough of this shit. I was at this point pretty much basically when Rick Moranis got sucker punched for no other reason than he was some old white dude walking down the street in New York. Let's be real.
Yeah.
That was why. That's exactly why.
And for anyone out there who's listening to this right now, I mean, Tom will tell you, Retroblasting, like Midnight's Edge, we're an apolitical channel, and we welcome everybody.
Probably even more so than because we have to get into the trenches.
Oh, sure you do. Yeah, absolutely. But sometimes it touches me whether I want it to or not. That was bad. That was bad phrasing.
Show us where it touched you, Michael.
Yeah, but Tom, it comes and finds me sometimes. But what I mean is that everybody is welcome at Retroblasting.
Absolutely. You're very welcoming. You're extremely welcoming.
Yeah.
And you've taken some flack, like you said before, from being on Jeff's channel, and I'm sure you've gotten some shit for being on our channel a couple times now.
No. As a matter of fact,
I'm surprised.
No.
Wow.
Well, I'm honestly not too surprised because the only ones that dislike us are the most extreme, rabid, lunatic Star Trek Discovery fans. They're like the only ones that really dislike us. And of course, then and then you also have like the crazy lunatic fringe on Twitter, but they don't have any friends to turn away from us. So
they don't have any friends.
Other than that, like I like to think that we are fairly open and welcoming. I think that most people understand that. Yeah, we cover the Daily Wire now, but we'd be doing exactly the same thing if it was the Young Turks that started a movie division. If they do that tomorrow, we'll cover them exactly the same way. We remain apolitical and
what's funny is
opening and welcoming to everyone.
Andre, you just remind me of so many things. So many things.
Is that a good or bad?
Not good, because I wish I was queer so I could get chicks, kind of thing. Darth Heretic Plays says, is Surfshark from the creators of Game Shark? Sure. Why not?
Why not?
I don't know. No, I doubt it. Of course not. But if you want to believe that in your headcanon, go for it. That could be your truth.
Yeah.
I should do a spoof ad on my channel. But do it just like Andre for Surfshark, but just say Street Sharks instead of Surfshark the whole time. Yeah. That shows my age.
It was a cool toy.
But Michael, you brought up a really good point. Though all are welcome here at Midnight's Edge, all are welcome at Retroblasting, all are welcome Geeks and Gamers, all are welcome at World Class Bullshitters, yada 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 yada. Okay, how many times have we heard within the last couple of years? It wasn't made for you. We don't feel the need to cater to you as a fan. We want new fans, not 50-year-old white dudes who are going to come with their kids to Galaxy's Edge. Really?
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because your Muslim uncle just provided one of the biggest answers I ever had, which was a video that I made talking about how the 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds who are asking for better material, are not the problem. You're right.
Yeah, and to those listening, your Muslim uncle just sent a super chat for $4.99. Thank you so much. Michael has had one of the best defenses of OT Star Wars fans I have ever had the privilege to hear. It should be mandatory watching for OT and Frequel. And to anyone wondering, we haven't forgotten any super chats. We're going to get through all of them. Just have to bear with us a little bit longer.
Yes, indeed. So, where did we leave off on those? Speaking of,
speaking of that, where we were? Give me 1 second here,
Jesse. Unique character alert. We don't like pizzas. We like cheeseburgers. Speaking of that, while Andre's getting back to the super chats, Michael, I got to ask, have you ever seen the Vin Diesel video where he's selling the Street Sharks? I got to imagine you have.
Oh, yeah.
I may have even seen it on one of your videos first.
No, I haven't used it in any of my videos, but you've blown the cobwebs off of an old filing cabinet in my brain. Yes, I have seen that, and it's really weird. To see that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back on the super chats now. Let's do this one to transition into the next topic, which I don't anticipate we'll be spending too much time on anyway, and it's the one in the thumbnail. The Last Millennial says for $1.99, Tom, Thoughts on John Watts making Fantastic Four? Bad idea to me. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on John Watts, the director of Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man 3 Home something something? What are your thoughts on him?
New news, is it? I say that's something.
No, it's not new news, but you got the question. What's your thoughts on him doing Fantastic Four?
I didn't mind the first Homecoming movie. The second one was kind of meh. I think he'll do okay. What other movies did he do besides Spider-Man? What was his other movie?
None. He did like a police car or like something like that wasn't even out yet at the time when Spider-Man was being made, and it was based on that unreleased movie that he got the Spider-Man gig. So you really only have Spider-Man to go by in assessing him.
I mean, let's put it this way. He only has to try as much as a minimum effort puppy. Talk about a callback there. To really kind of make a good Fantastic Four movie, because all of them have sucked to this point. So, like, really, I mean, he's got the easiest job in the MCU. Let's be real. Because how hard is it going to be to make a decent Fantastic Four movie in the MCU?
And now that we have covered that question to Tom, topic of this video is that we now have, this is something that was first reported by Mikey Sutton and then confirmed by the Daily Mail. We have our Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, of the Fantastic Four. It's going to be Jennifer Lawrence. So and the movie will be filming in about a month. How excited are we for that? Retroblasting.
Jennifer Lawrence is somebody who I've never actively disliked or anything like that, but I've just always been kind of ambivalent toward her, probably because her two major franchises, which were the Fox X-Men movies and the Hunger Games films, I never prioritized. Like, I've seen a number of them. Like, I have the road cut of Days of Future Past, so I've seen some of her work in those. I've seen the first Hunger Games, but I never really, dug into them. And she's already played Mystique, but that didn't hurt Chris Evans going from Human Torch to Captain America. Do I see her as like a natural choice to play Invisible Woman? No, wouldn't be my first reflect, but I definitely would focus more at this stage myself on the director and the writer and get their pedigree going. That's just my first reaction.
Honestly, I thought that she sucked as Mystique, but that's me.
I haven't seen enough of her Mystique to actually, like, I've skipped over First Class and I've seen Days of Future Past Road Cut, and I'm still trying to get my hands and the will to see Apocalypse. So yeah,
you know what? I can give you the tip for Apocalypse right now. Anyone that has not seen X-Men Apocalypse, here's what you do: you go to YouTube, and then you look for X-Men Apocalypse, and you find the Quicksilver sequence, the one with the music "Sweet Dreams."
Okay.
You see that? You have now seen the movie. I'm serious. There is nothing else in that movie that is worth seeing. Nothing. Okay. That one clip, that's the one good thing about it. So you watch that one clip. You see it in the highest definition, with the highest sound, with the best speaker system you can. And then you thank me later. And then you have now seen X-Men Apocalypse, and there's nothing more to see in it.
Hey, it could be worse. It could have been Dark Phoenix.
And Phil Chadwick agrees with me completely. And Dark Phoenix? What's this Dark Phoenix of which you speak? I remember hearing them talking about making such a movie, but they never did, right? And do not correct me on this, because that movie doesn't exist.
I will take your word for it. I believe I've actually watched that sequence a few years ago, but I will go back and watch it again.
Yeah, so, that's really all you need to see, and I see everyone agreeing with me in the chat. That's all you have to see is that one scene.
Well, then I would amend my answer to say rather than say I can take or leave Jennifer Lawrence in this case, I'd rather leave Jennifer Lawrence in this case.
Honestly,
casting.
I don't think she's a good actress. Period. I can't think of one thing I've seen her in that I like. I really can't.
Yeah, I can't either.
And Rob, this was your picture you wanted me to put up?
Yes, because Andre's going to get around to me. I don't understand. Look, if anyone can sit there and not tell me that Yvonne Strahovski is not tailor made to play Sue Richards, then you know what? Just get right the fuck out right now, okay? I don't understand. Listen, hasn't Kevin Feige learned from casting these prima donna Academy Award winning actresses?
I don't know. We have this issue where like all these women are like the same to me in a way, and I'm not trying to be like rude or mean, but like Jennifer Lawrence, Brie Larson, they're all pretty much one of the same beast, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They are. They're all interchangeable.
Margot Kidder to a point, or Margot Kidder, Jesus Christ, Margot Robbie to a point. Even sometimes, like, yeah, she has her moments, but.
George Hilton. He has a pretty good comment on Jennifer Lawrence acting ability.
And not for nothing. Yeah, she's overrated. She rose to prominence because of her butthole. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's
to anyone wondering,
she was in the cat.
No. Her nude pictures are online, and her butthole is on prominent display in them.
Well, not for nothing, Yvonne's 38. So I'm guessing they want someone a little younger, so they don't age out of the role too quickly. But at the same time, listen, 40-year-old, even as a 40-year-old woman, I take Yvonne over Jennifer Lawrence. Yvonne's much hotter, and not by a little, as Jake would say. And I've been canceled again.
I hate to say this. No, every time I see her in a part, like I'm sure she's probably a very sweet girl and all that kind of shit like that, but like she seems like the most brain dead fucking person in the room. Every time I see her, like I swear there's nothing going on behind those eyes.
I hope to be blown away by her casting, that maybe they're going to do the same thing that they did with Chris Evans. I mean, who would have thought that he would be such an amazing Captain America? But he really was. And I hope that she completely nailed the auditioning and that we'll all be blown away seeing her as Sue Storm or Sue Reeds or whatever her name turns out being there. But I have to say that just to begin with, I'm disappointed by this casting choice, because she's someone I feel like we've seen too much of, and there's very few roles in which she excels, doesn't it?
Not happy about this.
It just sounds like Brie Larson 2.0. You're getting a young Academy Award winning actress who is devoid of any real personality.
Now, don't now correct me if I'm wrong. This hasn't been confirmed. This is just a rumor that's coming out, right? It started in the Mirror this morning. That's why I didn't even bring it to your attention.
No. Actually, the Daily Mail, they have a pretty solid track record in this. It's the Daily Mail, and they're confirming that this has happened. And this is on the heels of Mikey Sutton reporting this is about to happen yesterday.
Oh, who fucking wants this? God.
Kevin Feige wants this because he feels he has to legitimize the Marvel Cinematic Universe with top flight talent, because this is the only way anyone is going to go see the MCU. And I hate using
you
that.
You don't need that for the Fantastic Four, though. That's one of the few you don't. And X-Men, same thing. Those characters transcend. That's what I don't understand, if that's true, Rob. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I can't get behind that or understand it, because Kevin Feige's whole thing this whole time, his mantra's been that the characters are bigger than the actors and they will be recast. They're like James Bond. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to continue on at some point with somebody else in the role, is what he's saying. And for you to keep bringing in, this is stupid. This is like Brie Larson 2.0. This is going to blow up in their fucking face if this is true.
Yeah, and also on that note, Brian Barth wonders, Andre, what do you think of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four?
We try
Well,
not
actually,
to think of it.
we have a playlist for Josh Trank's Trankgate playlist. So go check that out. In it, you will
The only
even
thing we
find
can be thankful.
but there you'll find my live review from like an hour after seeing a pre-screening of it back in 2016. I was in shock at. No, it's beyond awful.
The only good thing that came of that movie was Midnight's Edge. Let's be real.
Yeah, I was saying we do owe Josh Trank a debt of gratitude for that.
That we do. I'm very proud to say that Midnight's Edge was the absolute first YouTube channel to cover that whole thing. No outlet was covering the rumors and all the debacles. Everyone did later, but Midnight's Edge were the first to pick up on it and really put everything into system, and that's how the channel kind of like found its current form in the weeks after it formed. So yeah, go back and check out those older videos. They're fun to look back at right now.
We even did a special anniversary thing here with Doomcock a while back where he reviewed the movie.
Yeah, and many people are remembering those good old days. Metal Mugen says, Fant Four Stick is how I found you guys. Yeah, that's Rob. Did you find us that way too?
No, actually, I found you a little bit earlier than that. Just prior to that.
Yeah, so you found us like one of our couple of first videos then.
Yeah, I remember I remember the couple of mini documentaries that your previous partner Kevin had narrated. I'm like, oh, these are good. I like this. I like it's good. Yeah.
Now, who would have thought you would replace him? So.
Certainly not I. Funny how life works out, though.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't think that the first time you saw a video. That's what I'll be
never
doing.
Never met Kevin, but he's part of the reason I'm the editor I am today.
Yeah. So yeah, good times. So we do though that movie a great deal of depth, but it was a god awful movie. That it was. Michael, what did you think about Fant Four Stick?
I saw the trailer, and joke that I always like to tell is when you go to film school, which I did, the one skill that everybody takes away with a film degree is the ability to read a trailer and to have a pretty good idea of whether or not you want to plunk your money down for that film. And I could see even in the trailer itself, some of the reshoots going on and some of the craziness. And I was like, this is a mess in the making. And I didn't go. And then my buddy Mike, who does Clobberin' Times, who's been in the chat today here on this show, he's the guy actually who's the subject matter expert guest in my upcoming X-Men video. He told me about it and how horrendous it was. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I need to waste 2.5 hours of my life on that. I'm in that rarefied, embarrassing position where I don't hate the Jessica Alba first one. Like, I know it's to Ally McBeal. I know it's got comedy issues. I get all that, but I don't hate that one for what it is. And Fantastic Four needs an update for sure. The question is, will it face plant or will it sing? And Jennifer Lawrence being Sue Richards, ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I hope that they're gonna make that work better. But they bring baggage. They bring baggage in bringing her.
Yeah, if it's not face planting, it's definitely falling face first right now.
Right.
I mean, that's
right. Yeah.
I hate saying that about a movie that's not even in production yet, but we're not off to a great start here, guys.
Yeah, it's in free fall, and we're waiting for them to deploy the squirrel suit. Like, come on, save this. Glide. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we have. I think we have covered that quite sufficiently. So let's go back to some super chats because we have quite a few to go through there still. 860 Cyan God says for $4.99. Thank you so much. What's next? Is bringing up slavery going to be problematic now? Media is making everything and everyone hyperbolic, turning people into sensitive SJWs. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. And Fat Steven Seagal says, Gina chose her soul and principles over cash and mouse. Indeed. And Jay Fraser said, Hail Retroblasting, love your show, who's the doctor? Talking outside the box. Are you planning on bringing it back, or is the coof a big obstacle?
That has been a big obstacle. Thank you so much for the question. It is not dead. My buddy Mike is local, and we're hoping to bring it back in a new format and continue from where the old show left off. So it's just a matter of getting us all, back together in the same room safely.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's Clobbering Times from that. This is the guy that's going to be he's a good friend of mine and an in-person friend, and he's going to be doing the Pride of the X-Men video with me. So that's in the edit right now. So.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Look forward to that video.
He has a great YouTube channel. I'm plugging him. Surfshark and Clobbering Times YouTube channel. It's great.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Code Midnight.
I think that was. I think I crossed over on a stream with Clobbering Time recently. So
yeah, he's a good guy. And he's an amazing comic book and Star Trek expert going way back. I lean on him for a lot of that stuff. He's good people.
If we ever get Mead up and running again, I can start bringing more people like that back on. It's been so long since we've been able to have a standard Mead. Get so busy.
Speaking of busy, Roll Titan says, probably in relation to the Daily Wire Gina Carano thing, this won't change much. A tiny percent of people follow this stuff, and we are a tiny percent of that. 80% of people have no idea this happened. On that note, that is why the statement that Gina's tweets were abhorrent and unacceptable is so bad, because that travels the world, including to people that have no idea the truth of the matter. They just hear the condemnation and nothing more. That's pretty bad.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about with Andy Signor and,
Yeah, exactly.
In relation to the whole thing with Johnny Depp as well. So
yeah, it's the canceling that goes worldwide and not the reality of the situation. So that's pretty bad. But striking back, and that I appreciate to see. And then Crispy Critter says for $5, KK's projects are bombing. Favreau and Filoni's aren't. KK can't stand for that. No, indeed. I think that's a big part of what we're saying. And then sent us a diamond super sticker, and Mr. Tickle Trunk says for $2 Canadian. I just wanted to hear Andre say it. And Thunderstorm says for $4.99, I disagree with Rob. Daisy Ridley was good with a horrible script. She also told everybody they had no plan. Yeah, this is true. She did the best she could with what she.
I gotta correct that though. She told everybody they threw the original plan.
Yeah. Anyway, she told us what was going on. She gave an insight that confirmed all the madness. So
did you see her in that the train movie, Orient Express? I haven't seen her in anything.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, I can't speak to her acting outside of Star Wars. So
actually, there's a movie where she's absolutely. Where she did amazing. I do not recall the name of the movie, but she's fantastic in it. Her talent is completely on display. You have to help me out with the title in the comments, but it's a movie where she plays a corpse and she's dead on a slab, and it's the most convincing dead I have seen.
Like she wasn't even really there. She probably was just a life cast, and then they just
No. They needed a proper actress to play dead corpse.
Oh, so she got to play like fucking Bernie, huh?
Yeah.
Weekend at Daisy's.
So what you're saying is she bypassed the rehearsal.
She bypassed the rehearsal.
Okay, yeah. Someone's saying it's not a film; it's a UK TV show. Anyway, she played like Dead Bonnie number 3, and she did amazing. I totally believed it.
Oh Lord, it was a joke, guys. Andre was attempting to make a joke. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
I give it a 6.
he does that from time to time with
Yeah, and it usually falls completely flat on its face every
I
single
catch
time.
people off guard because of my dry like delivery usually, but like nobody expects it out of you. Like, you know.
I saw Murder on the Orient Express, and the fact remains is that yes, she was in it. Yes, she said her lines. No, I do not recall anything overtly terrible from her lines, but I don't recall anything breakout. I mean, when you're surrounded by, Kenneth Branagh and Johnny Depp and Michelle Pfeiffer and myriad other great actors, yeah, and you're coming into it as Ray, it's just not going to work.
I just can't get over Andre trying to tell a joke, because it's like if in the middle of Die Hard, Hans Gruber just all of a sudden was like, "Mr. McClane, would you like to hear a joke?"
Yeah, but I'm not even joking. She was really good in playing Dead Body number 3.
Knock, knock.
Who's there? Yeah.
Me, and I want your money. Ho, ho, ho. Now I have the gun.
Gay rascal. He has a humor. Norwegians like Andre and Stig should stick to pillaging and stuff. Yeah, that's probably.
Now my Hans Gruber isn't nearly as good as my Bruce Willis, though.
Bruce Willis is just somebody standing there and nose breathing. I mean, there's nothing. Oh, you're talking about old Bruce Willis.
We have a few laughs.
Oh, okay. When he was acting. Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
How can the same guy get stuck in the same situation twice?
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's apparently that's from Silent Witness, which is a TV series. Oh, yeah. Very silent. She was a great silent witness.
No, and I think not to dive too far back into the whole Gina thing, but no, that's the whole thing. Is Gina I'll say it, like, she was a beginning actress. You could tell she was just getting into it. Like, she had a great part in Deadpool, standout part. One of the better scenes was where, the whole boob scene, of course, everybody remembers that. And then, when she came onto this role, I, like most people, said, she's all right. She's pretty good. I don't mind the character. She's not the greatest actress in the world, but she has a presence and she's likable, and that was the thing, is that kind of seeped through right away. And the more and more we got to know the character, the more and more we got to know the woman, the more, it became evident that she was somebody that you want to watch. And I don't feel that way when I see Daisy Ridley. And there's nothing wrong with her. It's not like I hate her for any specific reason. She just does not have that thing. Brie Larson's another one who doesn't have that thing. Margot Robbie is one of those in between, because I brought her up earlier, but again, sometimes she's in the right roles. She can really, get your attention. And I don't mean in a sexual, physical way. I mean in an actual acting way. Because in that first Suicide Squad, she actually is one of the standout performances in the film, to be honest with you. She wasn't exactly what I pictured as Harley Quinn, but she was a version of Harley Quinn, and she didn't do a bad job. She was just stuck in a bad movie with a bad script, basically.
Well, that's David Ayer to a T, and also the fact that the Snyderverse is so stylized that it's impossible, I think, for a lot of actors there to go outside the lines and explore. It was a very regimented, creative exercise.
Right, exactly. And not to jump ahead on Super Chats again here, but Revan Nanaka thought your joke was so good enough that he sent in 20 Norwegian.
Yeah, it says Andre's jokes is Norwegian humor. Yeah, I smirked. Yeah. Well, that's how you joke when you're dead inside. Exactly. And also on that note, I got a question here. Cybercunt wonders, do Norwegians tell Ole and Lena jokes, or is that only Norwegian American? I have never ever heard of the concept of Ole and Lena jokes, so that must be Norwegian American.
I think that's more Czechoslovakian, but
I don't know. It's certainly not Norwegian. The jokes that we tell are about Swedes, and that's incidentally the exact same jokes that the Swedes tell about us. But to make up for that, we also have jokes about the Finns. They're by the way better.
I know they're a big deal where I live, but I also live in an area with a lot of Czechoslovakians. So, like, that's one thing I do know. Like, they actually have like a big Czechoslovakian celebration every year and shit like that. Yeah, this is true. And this is while she was standing up.
So yeah, for those that cannot see, Taker610 says Daisley briefly played a corpse in Rise of the
Revenge.
Rise. I don't even remember. Rise of the Skywalker, isn't it?
I guess.
Yeah. The takeover of the Palpatines, as it should be said. Oh yeah. And Emperor Billy Ritchie wonders any Danish jokes and stuff. Not between us, but you'll find some great ones on YouTube. Like if you just look for Danish language, the first result that should come up about the Danish language collapsing is actually a Norwegian skit. So we've caught up with the Danes more recently.
What were you saying, Michael?
I was just wondering if there are places in locally that even sell Danishes anymore, and then I realized, they're talking about the nationality, not the confection. So sorry about that. You've heard of a Danish, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Danish pastry, is that it? Or something?
Yes, exactly.
They're pretty good. Now I want a Danish.
If that's all I succeeded in doing, at least I didn't get run off the stream. So
hell no. You got to go.
We are a tolerant bunch, so it takes more to be run off from here.
Good to know.
All right. And Jan Erik Söderman says the one about the Danish language is absolutely amazing. Yeah, that one video has actually more views than there are citizens of Denmark. So go check that out. It would be fun. One day we should do like a live translation of the Danish troll song from South Park, because that's a thing.
Well, I got some bad news to report here. It looks like the bad, and it's not like like earth shattering, but it's shitty for our community. Drunk 3PO, they got him a little bit anyway. They managed to get down all his Drunk 3PO merchandise from the store. His store.
What happened?
What for?
They've been attacking him for the last few days, but if it has 3PO on it, they took it down. Teespring did out of copyright.
Oh God.
Copyright. Copyright, like Star Wars copyright, like they. C3PO. They went after it. All right.
Because they first here's the small short chain of events. They tried going after the We Are the Rebellion and the Rebellion shirts that were out there. Because first they tried saying that Gina was trying to make money off these when she wasn't, because the ones that Jay has up are for charity. And so they were trying to get those down. But as I pointed out, and most people know, you cannot copyright generic words. It's just, that's not the way it works. Like, you can't copyright things like the Rebellion, unless you spell it funny or have some like uniqueness to it, then you can't. So no, they couldn't do anything about that. But what they could do, obviously, is the likeness of C3PO, which I feel should fall under parody, considering he's got a fucking beer mug in his hand and he's drinking it. I think I could make that argument in court, but hey, I'm not a lawyer, so.
Yeah.
But evidently, they succeeded in taking down his Drunk 3PO's material. So sorry to hear that, but
that's terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, we had something like that happen to us a few years back. We have a number of T-shirt designs, and they're done by fan artists who were very generous with their time, and they just surprise us with this artwork. And one guy had done a T-shirt that looked like me dressed as Indiana Jones with a box of vintage toys. And it said Retroblasting Raiders of the Lost Toy Chest. And one of the toys that was in there was a My Little Pony, which happened to be drawn to look like Melinda's favorite pony from when she was a child. Well, that T-shirt was up for several years. And then suddenly Hasbro decided to come after that T-shirt for the fact that it was a very stylized. So there's actually two versions of the shirt, because I went into Adobe Illustrator and just turned it into silver from the Lone Ranger by recoloring it, and I put it back up online. It's ridiculous what they'll do.
Yeah, and I can not to get into the trenches. I'm sure I know why they did that to you as well. But yeah, think it's similar here, because they were trying first to go after that. And like I said, I reminded everybody. I even reminded them that you can't even copyright a typeface. like the style of letters that Star Wars is, you can't copyright that. You can copyright a font file, but you cannot copyright a typeface. So like if say Drunk actually misused the font and it was owned by Disney, then they'd have something to stand on. But otherwise, if it's a font he paid for or it's free use font that somebody made, there ain't shit they can do because you cannot copyright typeface.
So anyway, you see, that's just pure bullying and nothing else.
Exactly my point. That's what it was.
This right here is another memory. It's another example of the reason why I decided never to join Disney Plus. I remember this now. This was happening back then too. God.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Rondre.
Yeah, no, to everyone wondering, he's referring to what Mr. Tickle Trunk is saying, a reminder. Disney's Marvel made a grieving family take Spider-Man's name off their child's tombstone a few years back.
No, it wasn't Spider-Man's name. It was the actual, they wouldn't even let him get to that part. What happened is they asked permission to use Spider-Man on the gravestone, and they wouldn't allow them to because of the copyright laws over in England. They had to get permission. See, luckily things like that fall under some kind of gray area and fair use here in the US, so it's possible for that. But like, Disney, I guess, notoriously has not allowed any of their characters in areas where they have control over them on gravestones, period.
That is disgusting and dreadful beyond words. I remember, like, that really affected me. That thing right there.
I guess there's like beyond words. I guess if you search online, there's well over a dozen stories, where families have tried getting like Winnie the Pooh and stuff, especially for younger, and they're like, no.
That's insane. That corporation just needs to end.
It's soulless. Yeah. It's absolutely soulless.
And it used to be something great. That's what sucks. Is Disney used to mean something. It used to stand for something. And I'm not saying they haven't been this evil corporation for 40 years. Don't get me wrong. But I still can't believe that this is what Walt Disney set out to do.
No. I think that Walt Disney himself would probably turn at his grave if he heard that characters that were owned by his corporation, that grieving families wanted to honor their kids by because the kids connected with them, and then the corporation stamped their foot down on it. I don't think that he would stand behind that. I really don't.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with Mulan on top of it. Like that's the thing, especially under Bob Iger and partially under Eisner, they became this soulless entity that just
it's a horrible thing. Horrible thing.
And I'm not trying to paint Eisner in any bad light, but like he gets a lot of credit for things that he never fucking did. Like that's the thing. He was just happened to be in the right place at the right time and know the right people.
Kind of.
And he fucked those people over. That's why they left.
And then he got run out because of the whole Pixar thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the same thing happened to him. So.
Yeah, it's a certain irony with that, but
or karma, what have you.
Yeah. Let's move on with the super chats. Try to get
absolutely. And just to finish that, like he said, Silver Nova said here, Walt died in '66. Imagine what he would think of things now. They've gone and undone so many rules that Disney put in place, and I'm not talking about anything that would have anything to do with anybody's sex or race or anything like that, but like just things in general, like alcohol in the parks, for instance, was something he was very against. I didn't want to drag it out, but that's just one thing I'm bringing up.
Yeah, now you even have MMA fighting in the parks.
Oh yeah,
among the guests.
This guy, he died of lung cancer, but he was so worried about kids seeing him smoking that he made sure that he was never caught on camera smoking.
Sounds a lot like George Reeves.
Yeah.
I just got back, Tom. What?
I didn't mean to kill the conversation.
No, we'll get back to it. Max Mertzer wonders, have we gotten to the Fantastic Four yet? We passed it.
Basically, we all don't want Jennifer Lawrence in this motherfucker.
Pretty much.
And I think that kind of shoots. I don't know how much of a. see, that also kind of shoots this whole idea of the multiverse crossing with the X-Men again, because I haven't caught up on all the WandaVision shows, but I know some of what's going on now, and it's like, oh, so it's technically whatever, so it's really not that Pietro or whatever, so it's like whatever, who cares?
And
the only reason I'm being quiet is because I assume there's more super chats. So
there are
absolutely. Go ahead and be quiet. I can tell you're munching there, so I envy you at this point.
And moving on with the super chats, says, "Hi gents, I love Baby Yoda and Kara, the two characters that Disney removed." So yeah, Good going.
Same here, man. I feel your pain.
And Cesario JPN says for $5, "Just remember, Andre, Jeff of World Class Bullshitters has a video on how to cook porks. Just don't show Mecca that video; she'll hit Jeff silly to death." Porks. Yeah, I want me some pork for eating. So just to make it clear. And Alpha Omega Records, he said, "Yeah, even 1991 Kylie Retroblasting, amazing. The first year I saw Kylie live." I think we covered this one before, didn't we?
1991. Wow, that was like Apex Kylie. So jealous. Hashtag envy.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was her at the peak, definitely.
Absolutely. And the Fesma 93 says, "I think Lucas sold Lucasfilm in his 70s. KK is coming 70 this year. If it's not in 21, it should be soon." So
that's what I keep reminding people too, is she's so old. She's not gonna. I don't think she's going to be as big of a shadow as Amy Pascal, because I really feel like she's been a satellite mom already to this fucking thing. That's how The Mandalorian, A, wound up so good, and B, wound up being so much like Obi-Wan before anybody noticed. And go back and check the timing of the news. They didn't notice that until after the show had aired. So that tells me that KK probably didn't know what was going on in The Mandalorian until she watched the shit. I'm not kidding. And
Tom, you said that she's in orbit. You know what she's like? Then she's like the Taurid meteoroid stream that's also in orbit, and every few years it rains down havoc on the planet.
That's a good analogy, because like she's like that absentee mother who's so worried about everything at the office all the time and that not paying attention on what's going on at home. And in this case, her home should be Lucasfilm instead of, I know the office analogy is kind of odd of it because it is an office, but no, it's really that thing. She's not keeping her ducks in a row. She's not paying attention to shit. The proof is in the pudding. She let Lord and Miller go for 88 fucking days before she decided, you know what? This ain't what I want. That, to me, does not tell me she's as involved as some people like to think. And, she's more than happy to take credit for The Mandalorian. Don't get me wrong. But I'm willing to bet the only day she was on set was that day George was there, that they took pictures. That's probably the only time she ever fucking showed up.
I would give anything to see the original cuts of Rogue One and Solo.
I agree with you.
I mean, with the original directors and everything. And to anybody out there who's in doubt, Gareth Edwards is verified as being the guy during the reshoot process that got the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One at the end created. That was his idea. So I see really great movies in Rogue One and a really interesting movie in the original cut of Solo, possibly, if we would ever be allowed to see it.
Now, I don't know if that's plausible with that actor, but...
Oh, I meant interesting.
No, but Lord and Miller, though, and again, I have to keep reminding Rob of this because he doesn't watch movies. They have made good movies outside of that. Like everything else they've touched has pretty much turned to gold. So
that's why I'm curious about it. Like I don't like Ehrenreich or whatever, but I want to see their stuff.
And that wasn't their choice either. See, that's the other thing. That was KK pushing Ehrenreich on them.
Yep.
They wanted the other guy. Anthony Ingruber?
Yeah, Ingruber, the guy that actually looks just like Harrison.
So they wanted him, and it was KK that showed.
Yes.
Oh my God, fucking hell. He was the worst part of the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I swear Kathleen Kennedy is being told right now, get Sebastian Stan to play Luke Skywalker, and she's over there eyeing Josh Gad to play Luke Skywalker. Like, I swear.
You're probably not fucking wrong. That's the sad part. But like, no, like that was the thing, Andre. I thought you knew that from our documentary.
I think that was so frustrating that my mind forgot the information.
But to be fair, Rob and I were the one who did the digging on that one. And that's what happened was Lord and Miller were sold on in-group. They wanted him because, as pointed out in the documentary, he played a young Harrison Ford prior to that. And this was the excuse that came from above. We don't want somebody who's going to come in and do an impersonation. We want a real actor. So then what happened midway through production? They had to hire fucking acting coach because
Alden Ehrenreich can act.
Fucking act.
Yeah, and the best part is that that's totally insulting to Ingruber, who was hired, like you said, in a Harrison Ford movie to play a young Harrison Ford. So clearly he can act. Like,
I think we also uncovered that it was Harrison Ford's pick to play him too. That was who he said he wanted to play him, was Ingruber.
This is like one of those submarine or Titanic movies where every contingency built into the new vessel fails on its maiden voyage. Like nothing that was built to save it from an impact actually worked, and the thing just goes down. Like
exactly.
And everybody who was warning a warning of the impending disaster is ignored.
Yeah.
That's because Kathleen Kennedy is another George Lucas. People don't realize this. George Lucas, why do the prequels fail? Michael, I know I know Andre, I know everybody here knows.
Yep.
Is because he had too many yes men in the room. And if you watch, and I love this, the documentary, the beginning, the making of episode 1 is infinitely more entertaining than the movie itself, because you actually get to see a train wreck happen in slow motion, because everything leads up to it and you see it. And all it is, every other scene is George making decisions and people going, yep, you got it, George. And then the moment he leaves the room, the cameras are still rolling. And every time, then everybody's real opinions come out. And it's like, why didn't you fucking say that when George is in the room?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the most infamous ones to me in that documentary was when they're trying to cast Anakin.
Yes.
And they're watching the demo reels, the audition tapes. And that one kid nails the audition. And George looks at them and goes, well, it's probably, he's just really good at auditions. And I'm like,
no, he can act.
It's like, you're supposed to be good at auditions, you moron. Like, that's
nothing against Jake Lloyd. Yeah, it's not Jake Lloyd's fault. It's George Lucas's, and it's those other fuckers in the room, because you're right. And I was going to bring up that specific scene, Michael, because none of them speak up until after he leaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they show it play out. They all agree that it should be the other kid.
Yeah, they should. What's the point of having a rehearsal if you don't believe in them? I know he forgets his lines, but he's definitely more spontaneous. It's like he's spontaneous because he's forgetting his lines. He can't remember anything. He's not suited for this movie.
No, I agree with you 100%, Michael, and that's what I love about that. And again, nothing against Jake Lloyd. Nothing against Jake Lloyd. It is not his fault in the least.
No, I don't blame Jake Lloyd at all. I blame George.
But yeah, that's the thing here. And you have the same thing with Kathy. She has nobody around her who's willing to stand up to her and tell her the way things should be, except for one person, besides Bob Iger. And we all know who that is.
Ryan Johnson?
No, because Ryan Johnson sucks her dick.
Oh, right.
Yes, Miss Kennedy. Yes, Miss Kennedy.
I'll give you a hint. Yeah, but we're talking about this right now. We're talking about what George's accomplishments are. Well, it's like a round table here. See, one of us talks and then the next one goes.
Yeah.
John Favreau.
Yeah, the adult in the room.
The guy who actually knows shit.
And she don't like that, I don't think.
Yeah, no, of course, because he threatens her dominance. I mean, like, I think the woman is like a complete narcissist.
I think a lot of it was.
And don't forget, he's a toxic man.
Let's be real about this. I'm not trying to be all conspiracy theory, but I feel like Gina was fucking collateral damage is what she was. She was the easiest target to get out of there first.
And I also think that she was a means to hurt Favreau and what he was doing.
Absolutely. And she knew that was going to be the contention. It was, is he going to stand up for her? And is this going to be it? Because it's a no-win scenario for Favreau. He loses in both scenarios.
And how much of this is also always part of the plan, because I've been reading and seeing in videos that the whole Rangers of the New Republic thing, they already knew it wasn't ever going to get greenlit, but they did it just to get the stock price up.
I believe you're right. And that's where I said, I don't think this was ever meant to get out in the press, especially the day before the shareholders call or whatever. Like, that was definitely what they did not want.
Yeah. God.
I don't think they wanted to make a big to-do about this. They just wanted to let it go under the carpet and just, like you said, their eventual statement would have been that first part of that statement. That last part of that statement was added by somebody who clearly had an agenda against her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was there just to destroy and nothing else. That was to ensure that there's ain't no coming back.
It's shocking to me how much stuff they throw out at these announcements that if you've been paying attention and you have half a brain, you can point out, well, that's never going to get made. And whoever's directing that right now in the announcement is going to be fired before they write the first word of the script. And this is never going to happen. And yet they're just letting this person continue to just drive this bumper car into all the walls, the bumper car that is Lucasfilm.
Well, and if anybody thinks that the whole, Luke showing up and the fans, cheering loudly, collectively online didn't get to under her fucking skin, is completely oblivious to what's been going on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that drove her nuts. Her and her entire camp.
Yeah, because it was all secret. And from what I understand, she didn't even know it was happening.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know about that part. I can't believe she may not have known, but I don't think she understood the ramification it was going to have. Because I'm willing to bet, and again, this is me speculating, going off of things that I've been told, that she wanted that fucking baby out of that show because she didn't want it in there no more. It was taking away too much of the attention. And it was just really her just wanting to sabotage the show. And they're like, all right, we'll get rid of the baby. The only way they're going to do that is, okay, well, we're going to bring Luke back in. And she's like, all right, whatever. I don't think she anticipated what they were going to do.
How was the baby impacting her stuff? Was it just taking too much?
It was taking attention away from it. Because who the heck cares about the High Republic?
Baby Yoda was Cara Dune before Cara Dune.
Right. No, I get that. That was what I was speculating what you meant, but I was also sitting there going, "Oh, okay."
Because I'm sure, and again, their excuse was they were trying to keep it under wraps. Bullshit. They had toys ready for everything, and we know this for Rise of Skywalker now because the toy companies came out and they said this is what happened. What happened was they kept changing the fucking script so many times. They had a bunch of toys already produced for characters that weren't in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So they're like, fuck it. And they threw their hands up in the air. So that was the first time in history, as we brought up a few times with you, Michael, that they did not have a 3 3/4 inch toy line tied directly to a Star Wars movie.
Which is the typical J.J. Abrams process, because when they did Force Awakens, half of the characters in the toy line for that one were all deleted characters.
Yeah. So like what they did is they ran into this issue where they had a whole warehouse full of fucking characters that weren't in the movie, not even just background characters, but just weren't in the movie, period. And I'm sure one of them was Matt Smith.
Right.
And stuff like that. So and we've had all this stuff pretty much confirmed now. So they can try and say we're whatever, all they want. We've had this, they've told us. So that's why there was no toy line. So then the same thing I'm sure happened, not a similar thing, but what happened with, I'm almost convinced now what happened with Baby Yoda.
Right.
Was that all the toy companies after Rise of Skywalker and all the shit they were going through between that and everything else are like, you know what? This fucking Baby Yoda thing is going to be like Jar Jar Binks waiting to happen. And we're going to have a warehouse full of fucking plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no way we're making this thing. Cause I can tell you right now from experience, I have a box full of Jar Jar Binks shit from episode 1 yet from my video store. I brought it up before. It's like, I sold everything but Jar Jar Binks stuff. I got a couple of Jar Jar Binks cush balls. I've got a couple of Jar Jar Binks
dude, I was in Target. Everything. I was in Target this morning at 8 a.m. They didn't have one Star Wars figure on the pegs except one Black Series Jar Jar Binks.
In all fairness, they've been selling. Okay, the Jar Jar Binks for the most part have been selling. Now he has gotten love retroactively. Don't get me wrong, right. But I'm bringing that up for the specific reason is that's why there wasn't shit for toys for episode 2 and 3, if you remember, Michael.
Right.
The toy companies backed off because they overproduced everything for the first film, and they were stuck with a bunch of Jar Jar Binks shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So I'm sure they saw shades of that again, and they're like, oh, no. We're not touching that. They didn't see it from the angle of this is the next Baby Groot. They saw it from this is the next Jar Jar Binks.
Sure.
I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that's what happened. Because otherwise, why else would they have jumped on that shit? Because we had everything else from The Mandalorian except Baby Yoda.
Maybe they also thought it was going to be another Porg situation too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like it was a situation where they're like, that's not going to sell to this audience. They misunderstood the audience, I think, and they made a bad call. Whether it was on the Disney side of things or it was on, the toy line side of things, somebody made a bad call there. Because Anna's told me, it takes, X amount of months. And that Star Wars girls talk about, it takes X amount of months from, concept to getting that sucker to the shelves. And the fastest they can do it is usually 90 days. And that was the exact window from the day that Mandalorian, the whole deal went down with Baby Yoda to when they finally started getting some shit to the shelves was 90 days.
Man, God.
I mean, the math adds up. I mean,
sure.
You look at it all, it's like, okay. And then the same thing, like these toy companies, I can understand where they're feeling burnt to shit. Cause I got to remind people, it's like, Disney's not necessarily losing a lot of money on the toys. Sure, they're not getting the kickback on the certain ones that are sold, but this is all pre-sold licensed stuff.
Yeah.
And then Michael, you can explain that better.
Oh yeah. And then what happens just a few weeks or this past week, Disney literally forces Hasbro to stop selling one of the most popular action figures that's flying off the shelves, Cara Dune.
How happy are Hasbro about that?
I know, right? They can't be happy about that. I mean, they can't be. This
is after Cara Dune and Baby Groot saved Christmas for them.
Yeah,
Baby Yoda, you mean? Yeah.
Baby Yoda. Yeah, well, probably Baby Groot too, but definitely Baby Yoda. Yeah.
I could picture somebody at Hasbro picking up the phone and screaming, "What do you mean get these off the shelf? Like, do you know how much money you're costing us?"
Oh, it's been one hit after the other for Hasbro on this one. First, Baby Yoda's given away to Mannequin Skywalker, or maybe it was the Razor Crest blew up first after everybody had backed.
Razor Crest blew up first.
Yeah, after everybody had backed that Kickstarter, the Razor Crest blew up, which ticked off a number of people. Then Baby Yoda was given away to Mannequin Skywalker, and then Cara Dune was kicked off the show. And it's just like, what else are you going to do to this show? What else are you going to do to Hasbro's ability to sell Star Wars merch? It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
And I'm going to posit another thing. What if Pedro's incidences weren't so much about the mask thing, but them bringing in, all these other characters to take away attention from him?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you got Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all this crap happening in the second season. Like, I can see where he could be coming from more so not so much about the mask thing, but more like, I thought I was the star of the show. What the fuck is going on here?
Is he even in the suit anymore?
Not usually. It's two different stuntmen, and one of them is actually John Wayne's son, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Grandson or something like that. Yeah. And then, so he's hardly ever even in the suit. The only time I think he's in the suit is when there's probably any major speaking scenes or if he obviously takes the mask off.
Right.
And then other than that, though, I'm sure he was sitting around going, well, what the fuck is going on here? Because I'm not even the star of the show anymore. Like, you never were, buddy.
I swear, if I ever could write an expose on Disney's handling of Lucasfilm from purchase to execution, the title of it would be All the Wrong Moves. That would be the title of the book.
Oh, it is. It has been. And the funny thing is how Bob Iger has taken responsibility for so much of it when he shouldn't have. And it's a lot of it just because, and here's where I'm not trying to give him any kind of credit or give him any kind of excuse, but you literally left the baby with the best babysitter you could find. Like, you looked at all the resumes, you went through all the, you called all the references. Mm-hmm. And you didn't even make this choice, but it doesn't matter, because if you didn't make this choice, you probably would have made this choice, right? And this person completely comes in and fucks up your house, brings over her boyfriend and fucks him on the couch in front of your kids. Fucking, you come home, the kids are all covered in chocolate and shit because they got into all the candy and didn't have a proper dinner. Like, everything that could go wrong with a babysitting gig went wrong when you're like, I thought you were supposed to be the greatest babysitter in the world, and you just fucked this whole thing up. That is Lucasfilm. And again, it goes right back to she's got yes men all around her, even from the very top, because as Andre knows from, we've reported many times, Bob Iger was just like, here you go. You got the keys, lady. Just like he did with Kevin Feige and John Lasseter. He thought she had this dicked until The Last Jedi.
And there she argued for him why this is the right way to go. And he was like, well, I don't understand everything here, but I didn't understand what everything Lasseter and Feige was doing, and that worked, so okay. But in this case, it didn't really work out so well.
No, he should have noticed the red flags right away. But the other problem is the whole thing that I brought up earlier with that quote. They are so deathly afraid to go against anything that is against the left or that would upset the left, even though they're the crying minority of the left is what they really are. Let's be real here, because I said it before. It's a faction. It's a faction because there are plenty of people on the left who are fucking smart people and can have a conversation you can talk to. And I like I said, I consider myself more of a centrist at this point. That's not even the problem here. The problem is that they're trying to kowtow to such a small portion of people who have such really, like, they come up with the most minute bullshit to fucking argue and get upset about.
It's the same 20. It's the same 20 people on Twitter all day long.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is they were going to have Gina talk to 40 people who supposedly were trans, I guess. I don't know if they were that or they were.
They were leaders in the trans community.
Okay, so like 90% of the trans community was going to end up talking to Gina Carano on the phone, right? I'm making a joke here, but like I'm not really being that hyperbolic. Let's be real here. Like,
yeah, you're not far off.
Like, that's the thing I've been trying to point out to people for so long, is that these keyboard warriors get so hung up on things that affect such a small portion of the population that it just gets so fucking unnerving, and they get so stuck in this minutia and it's funny how they get so stuck in these little things, but they can't understand simple context. Like, that's what, and comprehension skills, and Michael knows
but these comprehension skills, they must be eroded, because if they're not, comprehension is toxic.
Yeah, it's that whole thing that she was saying about how that person from Disney, that she had to ask, please take your glasses off if you don't mind, so that I can actually look you in the eyes. And then the lady was like, well, your big mistake, Gina, is that you are replying to these people logically, and you really should be responding to them emotionally, because they're being emotional with you. And Gina was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I'm trying to use logic and reason to get it through their heads what I was trying to say. And they don't want that. They want me to be as reactionary and knee jerk as they are. And I sympathize with her reflex on that. I'm completely designed by the cosmos to be someone who reacts logically to things for the most part. And yet I get so much crap for it from so many, randos on the internet. And so I really felt for her in that moment. I was like, oh, Gina, there's no winning on this one. I mean, in that sense, there's no winning with Disney in this situation. You walk away is really the only option.
I think she played it the best she could, and honestly, she called their bluff.
Yeah,
and they showed their hand. And not only did they show their hand, she pulled back the curtain and allowed the world to see that the Emperor has no clothes.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know what
attention to the man behind the curtain.
Shut up, Mickey Mouse. Oh, bother, Mickey. We've got problems. I for some reason we inadvertently started a porg war in the chat.
I was like thinking, look, there are many delicious porg meals in here.
I love this. This is amazing. They're movie titles, evidently.
Now they were food items before. Pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah, I probably don't want to eat the pork of steel, but the Jurassic pork, no, that's probably tasty.
It's probably old. But anyway, we've had Michael for so long. I think we should try and get through these super chats. I apologize.
Yes, indeed.
I don't want to keep him too much longer.
I'm fine. Yeah. Like I told you, I always clear my schedule.
I know you do, and that's why I try not to keep you too long, because I know you're a busy man and you got a lot of work to do too.
On that note, Clobber and Times
we
says
love having
for
you here, though, obviously, or we wouldn't keep bringing
indeed,
you back.
we really appreciate having you here, and so do our audience, because Clobber and Times said, "Hail, sirs! Great stream as always. Great guest. Retroblasting rocks."
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
So yeah, the audience is quite happy to have you here.
I like
And
this Portergeist. I like that.
and Stephen Otten says, root on person of interest started out as a villain, meant to be killed off early in the series, but she became a popular character that became a hero. You see, that happens sometimes. And Silver Nova makes a future prediction for 10 Australian dollars. Thank you so much. Captain Marvel 2 will flop badly. Studio and media will blame men. A year or so later, the media will say they always thought it was bad. The same applies for future Lord of the Rings releases. Yeah, there you go. Like proper Nostradamus right here, and you're probably entirely correct. And Mike and Ayers says, aren't theatrical films behind a paywall too?
Technically, yes. Well, pretty much all entertainment is, but I mean, I guess what Michael, I guess, is getting at with that is the unattainability as far as like not being able to have a physical copy, being forced to sign up for a streaming service to be able to view these things, and the intrusiveness of that, I guess, is one way of putting it. But yeah, you can speak for yourself, obviously.
No, you're right on the money, Tom. It's a thing where they want an IV into your bank account every month for the rest of your life. And they try and entice you by saying, this is the only way you're going to get your Marvels and your Mandos. And the Marvels, you're going to need to understand our Marvel movies coming out, and your Mandos because Star Wars and Boba Fett. And everybody's like, oh God, please, I need that, like heroin and, crack. And I'm going,
the comics of the 90s. Everyone needed that too, right? When everything was interconnected, and there was no entry point, and you couldn't understand a single goddamn thing.
Yeah.
I remember like in 1995, that was the first time I was in America. And when I was there, I, of course, bought some comics. I didn't understand head or tails of any of them because all of them assumed like 10 years worth of backstory, intended extensive knowledge. So, yeah. Don't miss those. And moving on from there, Stephen Otten says for $5, turns out Disney is literally a Mickey Mouse operation. And I'm a Unicorn says for another $5, she won't leave because she knows where all the bodies are.
Yeah, we covered that one before.
But we covered that one, and yeah, you're probably not entirely wrong.
No, I've heard...
we even had to come and say that.
Yeah, not just him, but like I've heard from other places too. But again, I keep reiterating it. Even if she didn't, like just on her connections to Spielberg and the movies that she's produced alone, like you got to look at it this way. Like even if she was just there, that's the whole point. She's been a part of 40 of the top 100 grossing films of all time, probably at least 10 to 20 or 30 of them. I mean, not as many now because movies that come, even still now because she's attached to Star Wars movies and shit. So, yeah.
On that note, Gojira Star 5477 also says, keep saying it. KK knows where half the bodies in Hollywood are buried, and she hired Headland to find out where the other half are buried. Job security,
That would be Harvey Weinstein's former assistant. And you were going to say something, Michael?
They hired me to find the bodies? Oh, wow.
Of course, Headland would be the one digging them down. So, of course, she would know where the other half is.
I know where good places to hide them are.
My Leslie Headland action figure.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Michael? Like you were going to say something there.
Me? Oh, no, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And Christian Coralejo says for $5, though it's kind of backtracking a bit, is Jack Sparrow another example of a side character that became so popular that they took over the franchise? No, he was always front and center of Pirates of the Caribbean, wasn't he?
Not really. I mean, I get where they're coming from the question, because in the original film, what's his face from Lord of the Rings, Orlando Bloom is actually technically the main character. But Johnny Depp was just the bigger star, and he stole the show on top of being the bigger star. But I don't know if that was always, because I think it was always kind of planned that he was going to be kind of the ongoing character. So
I also think so. I don't think that's quite the case of that.
Because it kind of like, I mean, but it is Will's story overall. I know that, as far as the first 3 films go.
Yeah. And then Cultured Casino says for $2, loving the detailed coverage on the Carano news. Oh, thank you.
And check out his channel, of course.
You know,
yeah, Tom will be there tomorrow.
You know, my favorite part of that movie was when they made it out to be like, oh, we need the blood of a virgin. Like, there's gonna be some big sacrifice. They just give her a little prick on the finger. That's it. Like, I was like, oh, that's kind of anticlimactic, but still,
I thought that was genius, actually.
Yeah, it was genius. Yeah. Like, you think it's gonna be this big thing. I'm like, we need your blood. I'm like, little pinprick. Like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. But yeah, and No Legs to Stand On says fade in. Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
And Alex Asara wonders, possible X-Men actors being kept, and Fantastic Four rumors. Oh, and Pietro Real being controlled, or something more. Well, in terms of X-Men actors being kept, what we have heard from Mikey Sutton is Michael Fassbender. And FF rumors. Rumor that I have not had confirmed is that Mr. Fantastic shows up in WandaVision. Pietro is real, and he's being partially controlled. Tom, you want to add to that?
Again, I don't know anything specifically, but just from toy leaks and certain things, I believe he's either being controlled or he is. Clever ears if you don't want any spoilers for about 10 seconds. Mephisto. There you go.
Yeah.
But I haven't even seen the last 2 episodes, so I'm not even going off of anything I've seen.
Yeah.
So.
And Stephen Otten says, after what I've seen happen to Star Wars, Star Trek, and The Equalizer, I'm not looking forward to Disney Alien or Die Hard.
Are they still going forward with the Die Hard thing? I thought that was.
I wouldn't put it past them. It's probably just on ice, but to give it time. And
because I know what they were going to do was, and I hope this is still not the plan, was because if I do want to see Bruce Willis in anything, it would be another good Die Hard movie, because he hasn't made one since Die Hard with a Vengeance. But like the idea for this one was going to be he was going to be the wraparounds in some like case or whatever, but it was going to be a small part of the film. The most of the film was going to be McClane played by a young actor in his first big case, which is like, okay, that better be the most boring movie ever, because they think they forgot what McClane was all about when you see him and meet him in the first film.
He was a detective, right?
He's a flat-foot detective who's never really done much. Like, that's the whole point. Like,
and he has to rise to the occasion and be a hero. Yeah.
So if his first case isn't boring as shit, then they've forgot the idea of what John McClane's all about.
Yeah. And Master Clockwork wonders, any thoughts on Death Clock? And if memory serves right, I do believe Death Clock is the animated band from that series that John Schnepp looked over, and also that is the basis for the music in the bat metal videos.
That played a little bit of inspiration in Bat Tom.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, I think that's what Death Clock is. If it isn't, correct me in the comments. But I think the animated band that is reanimated for Bath Metal is Death Clock. As for me, I'm a big fan of Death Clock in the Bat Metal, but I don't like that kind of vocal in general. And I say that as a Norwegian, knowing full well that kind of metal originated with Norwegian death metal, but I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that either, but I do enjoy the Batman, the Bat Metal animated stuff.
Yeah, Michael, you familiar with Death Clock or seen Bat Metal?
I'm familiar with that's the animated show, right?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that. It's the metal band, and Melinda has that whole DVD set. Yeah, that's the one with Murderface, right? No, I'm thinking of something different. I'm thinking, is that right? Am I wrong? Am I off base? I'm off base.
Metalocalypse was the show, I think.
Metalocalypse.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so I'm clearly not familiar with Deathlock. So sorry about that.
Yeah, neither am I. So
yeah. But I'll ask Melinda. She probably.
But I am familiar with the bat metal. Have you seen those at all, Michael?
No, I haven't.
Those are hilarious.
You haven't? Oh my god, you have to see those. They're amazing.
Okay.
See them, and then you're familiar with the music.
If you don't like metal music, like they're hilarious. Yeah.
Okay.
Because basically they're kind of like on the Clubber in Time says I think he meant Deathlock, the Marvel Comics character.
That's what
maybe.
Say,
And if he meant Deathlock the character, then I couldn't care less for him one way or the other.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I had never really watched Metalocalypse, so I didn't know if that was like the deal. But
I don't know why that went into my brain. I guess I just
Well, you were leading up of what Andre had said, so
right,
understandable.
And basically, William Murderface is from Metalocalypse, which is also where then Death Clock is from. So then we answered both questions, no matter how it is to be interpreted. And moving on from there,
character though, Deathlock the character. What was the question originally?
But he has written Death Clock, so I'm pretty sure that it's the band and not Deathlock the characters. I'm pretty sure it's Death Clock the band he meant. As for me, Deathlock the character, which is spelled differently than what Master Clockwork wrote, I couldn't care about less, but that's me.
Clarify.
He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Crispy Critter says, Hollywood's forgotten how organic growth works. Yeah, if they ever knew. And Al Adolfson sent us a $1.99 donation, a super chat with no message. So either there was no message or it got censored by YouTube. I don't know, but thanks for the donation in any event. And Lou DiMarzo says for $9.99. Hey guys, listen to you all the time. Love and approach everything you do. Rob, you mentioned Toad's Place earlier. Are you from New Haven? I am and used to go there all the time.
I will say, without completely doxing myself, that I do enjoy a good pizza every now and then at Pepe's. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hint, hint, say no more.
He's live from Shabby Road Studios.
Live from Shabby Road Studios, yes.
Yeah, indeed. And Christopher Tock says, play YouTube at a slower speed, and you can keep up with Ben Shapiro. He did a great job guiding the interview.
You know what's even funnier is watching regular people on slow speed. It's like they're drunk.
You mean they don't sound like me?
No, like we used to do that to Michael Chabon. Like we were surprised we never got in trouble for that. We probably single-handedly are the reason why Michael Chabon's like, fuck this Star Trek stuff.
And Al Adolfson, he then says for $5, assuming that Gina and Daily Wire Films has a great story and a production, what would it take to consider it a success versus Hollywood? Guys, I'm going to let you have first go with that. Michael, what would it take for a Daily Wire film to be considered a success versus the requirements for Hollywood to consider the movie a success?
Well, first of all, it has to feel like a polished, mid to high budget production. When I say high budget, I don't mean it literally has hundreds of millions of dollars, but I mean that they put the money into the look and feel of the movie and the editing and the cinematography so that it feels finished and competent. And again, I don't think that's outside the realm of their abilities. If you hire the right people and you get the right teams together, you can do that. I mean, people are doing that for, a few tens of thousands of dollars on YouTube right now. The thing that they don't have usually on online movies like that are completely independent is they don't have the talent in front of the lens. And so you start to feel like, wow, I have seen movies online, even on some streaming services, where you realize, oh, these are people that really know cameras and lighting, and they even know post-production, but they got all their friends from college to do all the acting for them. And it's like, and that's where the everything flops. So you have to have all those elements. You have to have competent crew and shooters, and you have to have competent talent in front. And if everybody's in sync, then I think they can compete with Hollywood, especially now in the era of streaming, where the barrier to entry, is no longer a movie theater. And again, the pandemic in some ways, sadly, helped with getting everybody used to premiering movies in their homes. So I really think this is the time. I really do.
Yeah. Tom?
Really, here's the thing, and I know you brought this up in your editorial, Andre, is the media is going to paint every which way they can every one of these movies as a right-wing failure that's just pushing a right-wing propaganda while ignoring the fact that everything they're doing is the same thing, just on the other side. And that's why they have to constantly paint the idea of this whole conservative movement is bad. And again, I'm not trying to take any sides here. I'm not trying to get any political thing. So what they need to do is do their best, like we said before, to avoid as much as possible being, especially in Gina's first film, being in any way partisan in any with any agenda in the film itself. They need to just make a good, fun film that has no real agenda outside of being entertaining. Because you already have a situation where I brought up many a times, Gina is already a real life hero. Like, she does and acts in real life the way we want our heroes to act in films. She's not perfect, but she learns and she grows and she's strong and she has strong morals that she stands by, and that's what people want out of their heroes. And that's why we love Luke Skywalker. That's why we love Batman. That's why we love Superman. That's, the epitome, and Wonder Woman, what have you, all these characters that we love so much. And she encapsulates this all in a real person. And so really all you got to do is just plug her in. I think you said something like that, Rob. Just basically find something that works just for her and plug her right into it. And, just have her. Basically, she should have been in The Equalizer. Who brought that up recently? I don't know if it was Cameron or somebody else, but somebody brought that up, and I agree with them 100%. Like, she would have been, like, find her something like that. Whether it's sci-fi, whether it's a Western, whether it's a straightforward cop drama action kind of thing, something that's going to really play to her strengths and just be entertaining and fun. Like an old school 80s action flick. Like, fuck, you want to do Die Hard with a chick? I could buy it with Gina, but she's already too much of a badass that it kind of goes against what John McClane was all about to begin with. So, I mean, like, there you go. That's the problem. But you just give her something like that. Put her in like a kick-ass 80s kind of action film. And if it does well enough, basically, as long as it makes 2 or 3 times its budget, then it doesn't matter what the media says.
I can picture her being like a tough cop like a New York cop on the trail of sex traffickers or something,
I got something even better. Have you seen the trailer for Nobody? I was thinking that right there, gender swap that. That would be freaking perfect. A housewife that suddenly is in a position to wake up her mobster police enforcer past or something like that. That would be sweet. Female John Wick.
People have been trying to cast her as Xena lately. Here you go. Like David Rayner said, put her in something like Conan. Just come up with a new character, or, find one that you can get a hold of or whatever, and just, plug her into something. Like, she's versatile in that sense. I mean,
she could be a great Cimmerian, someone who shows Conan the ropes.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be too outlandish.
I don't know if she prefers Red Sonja, but go ahead, Rob.
She wouldn't fit for Red Sonja, but again, but she looks like a Cimmerian, so she'd be perfect for someone from Conan's home tribe.
And you would buy her as that, because she has the physical build for it. And like I said, budgetary reasons, like I said, being like a mob wife or, wife of a mob enforcer, and they come for her and her family, and like something like that. A New York detective who's thrown into an unusual situation where she has to prove herself and rise to
like A Long Kiss
yeah.
Goodnight. Yeah, that'd be a great kind of role for her. Exactly. Yeah. What do you think, Andre? Since you're the only one left, I think, to answer.
I think that in terms of the movies looking polished, I don't think there's anything to worry about. As I said in the editorial earlier today, they have teamed up with producer Dallas Sonnier, and he knows how to make movies. So he's the one who will be running the show there. So do not be worried about that. In terms of how to be successful, these things aren't going to go into streaming. All they have to do is be successful for the Daily Wire. However, I do think that they are hoping to be able to export them somewhere else, because that would be the true sign of success. If, in addition to streaming them on the Daily Wire, if they can, for instance, sell them internationally to someone like Amazon or Netflix, or if someone else like that, if they pick them up, that would be the true sign of success, because then someone will have paid probably what the movie costs in the international licensing fee, and then they are left with the subscribers and the American audience base, and then that's a huge success. So I think that's the real mark of success. Can they sell them to Amazon or Netflix?
All I know is
they're a huge hit.
I'm creating a comic book character right now, and she looks an awful lot like Gina Carano, but she's not Gina Carano, just so the lawyers know. But if they're interested in buying the movie rights, they are up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aren't you a clever, clever boy?
Aren't I?
There you go.
I'm just like any other writer in Hollywood. I didn't write shit, but I sure got a hell of a lot of ideas I could sell you.
Yeah.
You pay me, I'll write it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and moving on, The Wall says, of course, Shapiro made a lot of advertisement drops. He's trying to fund a movie. Those things are not cheap, even the low-budget ones. Indeed, exactly. But I will say, though, I do believe that what he's funding with those advertisement drops are the daily running of Daily Wire. What's going to pay for the movie, I think, is going to be external investors who are willing to donate for the conservative cause. I would not be surprised if they make a phone call to Dana White, for instance. I really think that's going to happen, because Gina Carano knows him and says, hey, can you do me a solid? Like, we need $1 million. Can you help us out?
I'll say one more thing. If anybody of Shapiro's people are happening to be listening, go check out our Robert Shea interview. That's what you need to do.
Yes, absolutely. So anyone from the Daily Wire, of course, you have Dallas on, absolutely. But listen to our Film School in a Box interview with the living legend that Bob Shea is, who started New Line Cinema, as he details how he did it. That's something that anyone wanting to start about. He created the rule book for how to start a studio today.
And if you just do what he did, then they should be just fine. You just stick to the genre stuff, which is what Bob did for the most part. Find good talent, let them make you a movie. Don't get too involved, because let's be real. The only reason we got movies like Nightmare on Elm Street, Ninja Turtles, and The Lord of the Rings is because Bob came in and said, I love the idea, go for it. And he stayed hands off for the most part. I mean, he made sure that Lord of the Rings was 3 movies. He made sure that Wes Craven got to do everything he could with every single penny he could in Nightmare on Elm Street. And he's the reason we got Ninja Turtles, because they needed money to finish the movie. And just, Sarah Risher, I think it was in The Office, is like, oh yeah, my kid loves those things. He's like, all right, I don't know what the fuck a Ninja Turtle is, but give him $6 million bucks, I think it was, or $4 million bucks. We'll make it. And it ended up being the highest grossing independent film of all time until Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, there you go. And then Revan Nonaka says for another 20 Norwegian krona, Surfshark effed my computer. Well, then you had a shit computer that was going to die anyway. And then he says, and is it E or E with an accent? Probably in reference to my name. Well, it is actually E with an accent, but I never use the accent because it's a pain in the ass. So word of advice to any parent out there, never give your kids a name where one of the letters has like some kind of crap that goes on top of it. That's a pain in the ass to type in on a computer and put in passports and all that kind of stuff. So just don't. So yeah. And Christopher Tock says Midnight's Edge knows how to seg. Well, thank you. We do try. And Max Relax says, Hail Midnight's Edge. Thanks for the show. Thanks for listening. Alex Acera says for $9.99, thank you so much for keeping our lights on, coming from someone whose primary choice was the one who sold a bunch of mittens. Here's why I don't care about HW politics. Cara Dune and Luke don't write or pass legislation in the real world. Indeed, they do not. We just want to be entertained. The Gay Rascal says for €5.49, hey everyone, hello there, Mr. Tickle Trunk. I'd kiss ya, but I just washed my hair. And then your Muslim uncle says for $4.99, Michael has had one of the best defenses of OT Star Wars. Yeah, we went through this one with your defense of, yeah. And Mandelbrot Metalhead says for $5, the Fantastic Four reboot lives or dies by how they handle Doctor Doom. Yes, this is what we said even back in the Trankgate days. No one really cares about the Fantastic Four. Like, seriously, no one does. What we care about are the villains. First and foremost, Doctor Doom, but also Galactus, the Silver Surfer, Annihilus. Those are the ones we really care about. Matt G says for $5, I thought she was done with superheroes. And if she's not, they might need her for Mystique for an X-Men crossover. LOL.
Yeah, I thought she was too. That's a good point. Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, but that was before Hollywood shut down and she couldn't get any other jobs.
Well, yeah, and then she doesn't have that. Well, her whole point of contention was that fucking blue makeup shit. Where they changed the whole way it was done. Is like, I give total props to Rebecca Romaine. Because she went through the whole...
She was fantastic in that. I have to say, if we have Batmanuel in the chat, I don't know if we do, but if we have Batmanuel listening, to quote what Jennifer Lawrence would say here, that was before I changed my mind. which is something that the fictional Batmanuel actually said. It was like one of the best lines ever. Yeah, from the original The Tick series, which is fantastic for those that haven't seen it. And Taker610 says, the Fantastic One. J-Law does everything on that team. Yeah, that's kind of like the risk that she could be like... I'm
afraid of happening here,
yeah. And HyperGyver2 says there are not enough words to describe how boring J-Law is as an actress. I had to drop the MCU after Endgame's little A-forced cameo. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And Diego Flores says, I hope another actor of the caliber of Alan Rickman comes forth soon. We need that caliber. Oh, there are many actors like that. You just don't see them because they don't get put up in the front like they should be.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I really am not looking forward to the second Galaxy Quest for now is like, man, they're not going to have Alan Rickman. You know, it's just not going to be the same, but I still hope it's good.
Yeah. Thunderstorm says, check out YouTube Blue Season, Daisy Ridley / Kenneth J in Sci-Fi London 48 Hours Film Challenge. Yeah, there you have something to check out. Diego Flores says, wasn't there a Simpsons episode where Krusty the Clown barged in a kindergarten to paint over his likeness?
Yes. I think
The
so.
Simpsons have done everything, so it would surprise me if it was. How ironic would that be?
Now I'm owned by Disney.
Yeah. And Matt Giles says, do you guys think Disney are playing to the crazies? Or Disney are fully assimilated into the crazies and are one and the same?
I think they've been infiltrated by the crazies. I think they're playing to them.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Corporations' attitudes about that are whoever's in charge at the time. Yeah. So as you have a regime change, things can flip the other way, and that's the problem with these companies, is that there's nothing keeping them out of the political game internally or externally.
Well, we're actually seeing that in real time, Michael, but not at Disney,
right?
Warner Brothers with AT&T.
Yeah.
So you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
And then you're all right. They're playing to it. Plus, they're partially assimilated into it, just as Rob says is my take there.
And I got to remind everybody, a big part of this also comes from, they knew they were going to get bailouts if certain people were in office. They knew, and that's another reason why they bend to certain wills. It's all about money and all about
absolutely
power and where the swing of power they at least perceive is going. That's why I like that clip you put in there from Chernobyl about the perceived power and all that stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's reference to the most recent video. That Chernobyl series was so fantastic from HBO. I'm on that note, before we move on, I just have to say I'm so bummed that the creators of HBO are now making that stupid Last of Us series that wasn't even on the Sega Mega Drive. And they're doing like Last of Us. Like, that's a waste of their talents. You know what they should follow up Chernobyl with, in my opinion? Chernobyl Season 2, Fukushima. That would be something. Yeah, that would be the natural follow-up to Chernobyl, because that also taught some very, very real lessons that right now are just covered in Shin Godzilla.
I'm curious what Rob thinks about that Woody Allen documentary. Like, they're starting.
It's a hatchet job. It's a hatchet job, I tell you. I love Sun Yi. Okay.
But moving on from there.
I don't even know if you can get that to be funny anymore. That's the problem.
Alpha J says, it's a real bummer that Daft Punk decided to split. Alexa play Get Lucky, because I certainly need some right about now.
Now about 50,000 people's, about 10,000 people's Alexas just went off and started playing that.
Probably.
And
Stephanie Yanisek Smuggler's Cantina sent us two super chats in a row, and she said Solo was horrifying in one, and Doomcock's latest. Pablo was involved, by the way. So yeah, I saw that Doomcock dropped the video. I haven't seen it yet, but I look forward to seeing what's in that.
I haven't seen that yet. I'd have to see the reasoning behind that, because considering what she said, I don't think Pablo or Pedro. What did it say? I'm sorry.
Pablo.
He might be, but because I was going to bring that earlier that kind of got lost in the shuffle of when we were talking. But I mean, when he got forced to apologize, it wasn't by Lucasfilm. It was by the higher ups. And in that, in that Hollywood Reporter article, they made a point to let us know that this went above Favreau, but not above Lucasfilm.
Yeah. So which basically means Kathleen Kennedy and her entire camp.
I don't know.
We're the ones doing that.
Hold to make it happen, but he's clearly he's definitely one of the people in that camp.
Oh, he would have been one of the foot soldiers. He's not one of the brains, but the foot soldier.
Talking about, yeah. For some reason, I thought he said Pedro at first.
Yeah, no, Pablo, not Pedro.
No. Yeah, no, I got you. That was my fault.
Yeah, and then the Rubber Band Man says the brothers like the thick women. Can you put the Jenna pick back up?
The Gina pick back up? Oh,
yeah. We can Jenna, but yeah. And while you do that,
Not just
Nelson
the brother.
Cheretta says,
No.
Nelson Cheretta says, everyone who disagrees with KK gets fired. Yeah, kind of like
Pretty
her
much.
way or the highway. Clark Terry fan says, way behind on this, but Daily Wire doesn't differentiate it politically. Dave Rubin worked for the Young Turks, but became more right when he met the Daily Wire guys. Yeah, again, my observation is that there is more room for diversity of opinion there. Stephanie Yannis ex-Smuggler's Cantina sends us another $3.99 saying, Brendan Wayne is the Duke's grandson. All right, cool. And Matt Giles says for $14.99, thank you so much. If I hadn't cancelled my Disney Plus, I would have loved JF to bring back Han, Luke, and Leia, John Favreau. He would have loved John Favreau to bring back Han, Luca, and Leia, played by Anthony Ingruber, Sebastian Stan, and Millie Bobby Brown. Who would you choose?
You know, I know that Millie Bobby Brown looks a lot like Carrie Fisher when she's deep faked onto the footage, but the age disparity between Sebastian Stan and Ingruber and Millie Bobby Brown could be, you know, like it just wouldn't make the combo work. And that's the only caveat I have with that, is that they're also different in age. Ingruber's younger than Sebastian Stan when Han's supposed to be older than Luke. It's a dream team, but you need a time machine to make it work.
Or you need to have feature them in different time epochs and not together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And Dex030 says for €2, Faden, the Force is female. Greetings from Germany. Dankeschön, Deutschland. Much appreciated. And Valiant Renegade says for $5, hail Edge and chat. As the time goes on, we will hear more of the internal details of KK and Favreau. I'm sure it's bad and got worse when Feige got involved. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, we've got so much stuff to come. We have a little bit we know already, and I'm sure we're going to learn much more as this situation continues to evolve. And Pablo Papano says for $10, KK probably sold Iger on destroying white male Star Wars fans and bring in the little girl princess audience. Like all other progressive ideas, they always fail against human nature. Yeah, I don't think that she sold him on destroying white male Star Wars fans. I think she sold him on bringing in the little girls in addition to the white male fans, and that was just a bonus, destroying them. And then Sister Harrow sent us $10. Thank you so much, with no comment, but we thank you anyway. And if there's a comment that was missing, then please add that in the chat. And Thunderstorm says for $4.99, Gina, World War II factory worker, learned self-defense from World War I vet grandpa growing up. She rescues her husband from the Soviets who took him after the war. See there? That's a movie. And actually, that's something that Gina said too in the interview. They've had so many movie pitches and ideas that it'll be interesting to see which one they come up with. And Michael Dice says for $2, Gina, the hero's journey in real life. And Neubaum Turk says for $5, the fappening, boosting average actresses' careers for over 10 years. Yeah, especially Jennifer Lawrence's. So, yeah. And I'm a Unicorn says, you guys need to watch Kung Fury. Free short movie on YouTube. You won't regret it. Okay, I'm writing that down right now.
I've seen
Kung Fury.
Yep, we talked about that on the podcast before.
Was it good?
With yeah, it's pretty cool. With Critical Drinker. Jesus, we were talking about Cobra Kai. We brought that one up.
Yeah, exactly. I really remember that. And then Phage Live says for $4.99, do you guys think Bond's Bob Iger's chances to run for POTUS are still high or not?
I think his aspirations are high.
His aspirations are high. Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna. Now is unless I think we've had our chance to see what it's like to have a unqualified businessman in the White House. I mean, so
I don't know if that's a fair comparison because they're two totally different guys. But and I don't even want to get into politics here, but
let me just say that listen, the idea government and a corporation's goals are diametrically opposed. A government collects taxes and provides services to its people, such as electricity, water.
Well, that is what the government should do. Again, not to be political. Your current one does only half of that.
In principle, a corporation is to make money for its shareholders. They don't necessarily function the same way. If we tried to privatize the post office, there are a lot of people in the country. Just use this as an example. There are a lot of people in the country that would not get their mail. Hysham, Montana, goodbye. Like Abilene, Texas, some small little town. There's a lot of towns under 2,000 people that would not get their mail. Just using this as an example, because it would not be profitable for them to do so. And companies like FedEx and UPS would charge exorbitant rates to do that. And there's no profit motive in a public highway system. Just like I said, we're just using examples.
I get what you're saying, but when it comes to the other part, here's the thing I'm going to say about Bob Iger. If he were to become president, he has some very strong ties to China.
And if I may, here's
go ahead, please.
Yeah. He's going to be a Democrat, right? And honestly, I think that if he decides to run and he is willing to win over, or if he's able to convince the higher ups, the donor class, I'm the guy, I will be your servant, then he's going to be the nominee and he's going to be the next president.
Yeah, but
because on that side of the aisle, it's all about serving the donor class. They are not the servants of the people. They are servants of the donor class. Mm-hmm. And if he can convince that I will serve you, the donor class, while fooling the people, then he has every chance of being put in power.
Well, people still have the vote. That's the other thing. People still have the vote. I mean, you could have again. We're not trying to get too political. You could have another populist come along and just sweep the nomination and the primaries. Like I said,
I will remind you though, Rob, of the one thing that our good St. George reminds us of.
It's a big
club, and you ain't in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You and we ain't in it.
Exactly. And especially now, and this is not me, I believe it was Newsweek, that now the system has been fortified to ensure that a populist like that isn't going to win again.
Well, the other thing, too, is that someone like Bob Iger doesn't necessarily know how the government works. I mean, it's the president.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to work. All he has to do is convince people that I can serve the donor class. That's it. You kind
of actually do have to know how the government works, because the president is not the one that proposes legislation where all the major change happens. That happens in the House, in Congress. And he can appoint judges. He can sign legislation. He can issue executive orders, and he's the commander in chief. But as far as the actual proposal of law, where the actual change happens on a realistic level on the ground, that's not what the president does.
I want to get out of civics class.
Okay, let's get out of civics class.
Yeah, let's get out of civics class. So basically,
please.
we are in we are in disagreement. But he
let's say
but this just goes to show you the diversity we have, not just on the panel.
Exactly.
But
if you want more on that, if you'd like to learn more about this, consult. There are many books in your local library. As they used to say when we were kids.
Yeah. Indeed. And then moving on from there, Stephanie Yanisek Smuggler's Cantina says for $4.99. Pablo got into an argument with her and she basically ripped him a new one and went and cried to Kathleen. Oh, that I can well believe of Pablo Hidalgo. I absolutely believe that that particular faction went and colluded everything they could. And then the gay rascal. Okay, but Tom, maybe you should read this one from the gay rascal if we can still get it up on screen here.
Let me see here. No, I don't have any. I can.
I'll send it into private chat so that you can read what the gay rascal said.
Hello,
Cecil. What are you doing here?
I'm hiding.
Yeah, now it's in the private chat.
I'm supposed to be doing cash grab. All right. Face it, guys. If Gina doesn't turn you on, I'm basically your last hope. And that is so true. Thank you, gay rascal. One and only. He gives me my gay card so I can talk with a lisp.
Exactly. And with that, we are actually fully caught up.
Well, sweet. That's awesome. We only went an hour longer than I thought we would.
as per usual. And with that, Retroblasting, Michael, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you as always for the invite. I love being on the morning show with you guys. And anyone who's interested can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/retroblasting. We also have a matching Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook portal. And of course, we have a Patreon attached to that as well. So if you guys are interested in talking about pop culture and sometimes pop culture issues, sometimes toys, sometimes old cartoons, sometimes collectibles, sometimes costumes from old sci-fi movies, check us out.
Yeah, indeed. And next time you come on, we're gonna have to talk about some Buck Rogers.
Yeah, that's
we didn't get around to that today.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again real soon. I think actually I tried setting you up for a couple dates at once, but we'll get back to you on another one here soon because I got a few openings, so we can definitely get you in the next few weeks if you're free. I know you're
do Buck Rogers done.
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
talk
Big
about
Buck
Rogers then.
And that video somehow rocketed up in 2018. Surprisingly, I did a video about the Gil Gerard TV show. And within like 3 weeks, it became the most watched and popular video I ever made. So,
I do know part of it is because you're just so good at making videos.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And another reason is the Blu-ray came out and they didn't have much for special features. So I'm sure a lot of people sought out things and you just happen to have hamburgers when people were hungry.
Ah, good point. I hadn't thought of that.
But it was well timed and well done. So there you go. Just like a good burger.
Thank you.
Or not well done if you don't like it. But it didn't work for the analogy, guys. Otherwise, I'm going to get you killed in the chat.
No, I got what you were.
I know you got it, but they're going to be like, I want mine mooing. You can't do that to a good burger. I'm going to get about 10 of those now. You watch.
Yeah. I want it cold and bloody.
We love you, heck no, even though you say heck no. We love all you guys in the chat. We love all you guys. You're great, especially our regulars. We see you here so often, like Pinhead and Grand Wazoo. See you every single day. Forgotten Prime. Was here today? I didn't see
Oh, yes. Was here today.
Oh, do we get in our
super chat?
We got a super chat from her. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mr. Tickle Trunk, of course, is here, and our lovely wrenches are here. Well, of course, Natasha's the lovely wrench, and she has her minions, as I call them. And I don't mean that in any sense of a derogatory term, but she is in charge.
Come, Natasha. We must catch moose and squirrel.
Yes, many moose and squirrels. So yes, do check out Retroblasting. He does some great work. I find myself going back there all the time. I could sing him the theme song right now if I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to get that next feature out about Pride of the X-Men this week. I'm almost done laying down the audio timeline. It's almost all there and cleaned up, and then I'm going to start with the B-roll and graphics, which, as we all know here in YouTube content creator universe, is the slog. So,
indeed, that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? I shit you not. Every time I hear your name or say your name or anybody say, it's the theme song in my head.
People have actually been asking me about that theme song because we stopped using it on the feature videos because we found out that people don't, they leave a video in marked numbers now because they're too impatient for intros. But then we were told when you do live streams, you should have an intro. So I'm actually in the process of taking that intro and reinstating it on live streams, where it works because it allows people to settle in and get ready for the show and all that kind of stuff. But on the feature videos that it was made for, it's no longer there. It's weird.
Yeah, awesome, glad to hear.
But yeah, so it is. But yeah, Tom, as we said, thanks to everyone here. You can catch me in like 10-15 minutes over at Mr. H Reviews because I'll be jumping straight onto history. So be sure to check me and him out over there.
I was just gonna say I'm glad to hear the song when it is in the videos. That didn't mean
it's back on live streams.
Yep. I noticed that. I do check. I didn't get to see the last two live streams live. I think, well, maybe I did the one before this, but yeah. But like, I noticed you're doing a lot more live streams, and I think you even talked to me a little bit about that. So,
yep.
So we'll probably bring that up in the future.
Awesome.
All right. Until then, Andre, Rob, was there anything you wanted to add before we close things down this afternoon?
Come on, we go to get A-bomb. What's A-bomb? What some people call the show.
That's the show. Because we have couch critics.
This sucks. Yeah, it really sucks.
No, hopefully you enjoyed the show, folks. Till next time, don't forget to go get your Amber Turd Shirt. You can get it in the link below. And remember, koalas in the rain have 0 fucks to give.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas